Muy buenos días a todas y todos. Les damos la más cordial bienvenida al webinario regional sobre el Sistema Internacional de la FAO para el monitoreo de la
We
resistencia a los
welcome all of
antimicrobianos
you
InFARM. Este webinario ha sido
to
especialmente
this
preparado
webinar.
para
It
nuestra
has been
región, América
especially
Latina y el Caribe.
organized
Nuevamente
for
a
Latin
todos
America and
muy
the Caribbean.
bienvenidos.
This
Mi
is the
nombre es
regional
María de los
webinar on
Ángeles García,
FAO's
soy coordinadora
international
regional en
system for
temas sobre
monitoring
responsa a los
antimicrobial
antimicrobianos del Sistema
resistance
Regional
in
de
farm
FAO
in
para
Latin
América Latina y
America.
el Caribe. Y antes de comenzar,
Before we
quisiera dar
begin,
algunos
I would
avisos
like to give
técnicos.
you some
Esta sesión cuenta con
household
traducción simultánea en
events
español e inglés.
information. There
Por lo
is
tanto,
simultaneous
pueden
interpreting into
activar
English
en
and
el icono
Spanish.
de
You can
interpretación en
activate
la
it
esquina inferior
at the
derecha de su
icon
pantalla, el idioma que más les
interpretation at
convenga.
the bottom right side to
Y
the
avisamos
language
que
that is
tendremos
more
cambios de
convenient to
idioma
you,
durante la
and we will
sesión. Así que
change
por favor
languages
estén
during
atentos
the
a este
session.
icono en caso
So
de que
please
deseen esto.
be aware of this in the case
Les
you need
pedimos
it.
también mantener sus
We would like
micrófonos
to inform you
apagados
that
durante toda la
you need
sesión,
to
pero sí
have
los
your
invitamos a mantener
microphone
sus cámaras
off,
encendidas para sentir
but you can
que
keep
estamos un
your
poco más cerca
images on so
de
that
cada uno
we
de
feel
ustedes.
we're closer to each
Y
one of
también
you.
informarles que esta
In
sesión está
addition, we
siendo
would
grabada
like
para poder
to
ser compartida
report
posteriormente
that
con
this
ustedes,
session is
aquellos
being
quienes no
recorded so
pudieron
we can
acompañarnos
share
el
it
día de hoy,
later with you
o
for
bien si
those
desean
that cannot
revivir
be here today.
los contenidos que
Or
vamos
you
a
would
estar
like to
realizando
go
durante esta
over the
sesión
content
grabada.
that we are going to cover today.
Para iniciar entonces este
To
webinario,
begin
dejo con
this
ustedes al
webinar,
señor
I would
Leopoldo del
like to
Barrio.
open the
Él es
floor to
nuestro
Mr.
oficial de
Leopoldo del
inocuidad y
Barrio.
calidad de los
He
alimentos de la
is in
Oficina
charge
Regional de la
of
FAO para América
food
Latina y el Caribe.
safety for
Así que
Latin America
Leopoldo,
and the
por favor,
Caribbean.
adelante.
Please,
Muchas gracias, Ángeles. Muy buenos
Mr.
días a todos.
Leopoldo
En
del
nombre de la
Barrio.
Oficina
Good morning
Regional
to
de la
all of you
FAO
on
para América
behalf of
Latina y el
FAO for
Caribe. Es un
Latin
gusto
America
tener
and
la
the
oportunidad de
Caribbean. It
saludarles
is a
y
delight
dar la
to be able to
bienvenida
be
a
here
un
to give you
webinario
some
regional
opening
sobre el
remarks
sistema
for
InFARM,
this
que es
regional
una herramienta
event for
internacional desarrollada por
InFARM,
FAO
which is an
como parte de su
international
compromiso en el
program that
Plan de
is organized
Acción
by
sobre
FAO
la resistencia a los
on
antimicrobianos
the
2021-2025.
resistance,
InFARM
antimicrobial
tiene como
resistance for
objetivo apoyar a
2025.
los países en la
The idea
recopilación,
is to
el
support
análisis y en el
countries in
uso
the
de
analysis,
información
recollection,
relacionada
and
con la
use
RAM
of the
en los
information
sistemas
related to InFARM
agroalimentarios.
in that which relates
Desde
to
su
agro
lanzamiento
food
piloto en
systems. The
2022,
pilot study that was launched in
InFARM ha ido
2022, InFARM,
consolidándose como
has been
una plataforma
consolidating
clave a nivel mundial.
has
En
been consolidated
diciembre
as a
de
key platform.
2024,
In
FAO
December of
cerró el primer
2024,
llamado global
FAO
de datos sobre RAM
closed the
en
first
animales y
data on
alimentos con una
InFARM
participación
for
destacada de
food of
52 países
and feed
registrados
for
y
animals of all the countries that are
124 puntos
registered
focales
and 124
identificados.
focal points that have been
Actualmente se
identified.
está analizando esta información
Currently,
que
we're
dará lugar a
analyzing
un
this
primer
information,
informe
which will
global
provide us with the
hacia fines
first
de este
global
año o
report
inicios
at
de
the end of this year
2026.
or at the beginning of
En este
2026.
contexto, FAO ha
Within this
lanzado
context,
recientemente el
FAO
segundo
has
llamado
recently
global de
launched
datos
the
InFARM,
second global
que
launch of InFARM
prontamente incluirá
data,
datos sobre
which
el
will
uso de
include
antimicrobianos en la
data
producción
on
agrícola.
the
Con
use
este
of
webinario queremos
antimicrobial
reforzar
products
la
in
participación
the farm.
activa y sostenida de
We
los
would like to
países de América
promote
Latina y
the
el
active
Caribe,
participation of Latin
brindando
American
orientaciones
and
técnicas
Caribbean
y también
countries
prácticas
with
sobre el uso del
technical
sistema.
information on the use of the
Tendremos además
system.
la
We
oportunidad
will
de
also have the
conocer más sobre
opportunity
InFARM,
to
ver
learn
una
more about
demostración
InFarm,
en
to
vivo
see
de la
how
plataforma,
in live
escuchar
the
las
use
experiencias de
of the
dos países
platform
de la
live
región
and
que
the participation of
participaron
two
del llamado
countries of
anterior
the region that
y contar
participated
con
in
un
the previous
espacio de
call.
preguntas e
And
intercambios.
we will have a Q&A and
Agradecemos su
exchange.
presencia y
We'd like to
compromiso con
thank
esta
you for your
iniciativa,
your
así como el
presence here
apoyo del
today,
equipo técnico
and
de
we hope
nuestra
this will
sede
be
en
a
Roma,
fruitful event and our
permitiendo
support of the
viabilizar
Roman
esta
technical
agenda,
team
que es
that will
clave
allow us
para la
to
salud pública,
visualize this
la
agenda,
sanidad
which is
agropecuaria y la seguridad alimentaria.
supporting
Les deseo
food
una jornada
safety,
muy productiva.
food,
Muchas gracias a
and the
todos.
whole process.
Ángeles, por
And I
favor.
wish you all a
Muchas
fruitful
gracias,
event.
Leopoldo, por
Thank you
estas
all.
palabras de
Thank you,
bienvenida.
Leopoldo,
Me
for
sumo
your
a ellas,
opening remarks.
agradeciendo a todos por
I
su
support
participación el
them
día de hoy. Ya estamos superando
wholeheartedly.
los 50
We
conectados.
already have
Esperamos
50
que el
people
número siga
connected,
aumentando.
and we hope that
Tuvimos
this
más de
number
150
continues to
inscritos,
grow.
así que esperamos que
We
más
have
colegas se
over
sumaran a esta
150
sesión.
people
Sin
registered for
duda va
this
a ser
event,
de
so we hope
muchísima
that more
ayuda para
colleagues will
todos
connect because this will
quienes
be
están
extremely
involucrados
useful
en la
for
vigilancia
those
de la
that are
resistencia a los
involved
antimicrobianos y el
in
uso de los
the
antimicrobianos en el
surveillance
manejo de datos.
of
Entonces,
the
para comenzar
management of
con
data
nuestra
on
sesión
this
de hoy,
platform.
quisiera comenzar a
Um,
calentar un poco los
Without further
motores.
ado,
Vamos
and
a
to
hacer una pregunta a
begin
todos ustedes, así que por favor
asking a
vamos a
question to all
iniciar
of you so
esta
we can
sesión
get fully
preguntando
involved in this exercise. We
desde
have a
dónde se
question for
conectan,
you.
de qué país país nos acompaña.
where you're connecting from, what
Yo
countries
aquí
you
acabo de lanzar una
are.
pregunta
I've just launched
que
a
por favor
question
ustedes pueden
so that
responder.
I would ask you
Tienen
to
que escribir
please
su
respond.
respuesta. Vamos a dar algunos
Uh,
segundos
Oh, we'll give you some minutes.
Ya cerca del 40% de personas está contestando, vamos al 50%. Mientras les comento que sigue aumentando el número de participantes.
Meanwhile, I would like to report
Buenísimo.
that there is an increase in participants, and that is very positive.
Quedan algunos ahí que todavía no contestan.
There are still
Vamos a dar
some that
algunos segundos
have
más.
not responded. We will give you a few more minutes.
Recuerden que estamos con traducción simultánea inglés y español.
We would like to
así que
remind you that
pueden
there's
elegir el
Spanish and
idioma que les
English
convenga.
interpretation. You can select the language that is more
Vamos al
convenient for you.
60%, llegando al 70%, así que quedan
We
algunos
are
todavía.
at 60%. Oh, there are a few that haven't responded yet.
Todavía están un poco tímidos, parece. Vamos a ver.
Let's see now.
Bueno, tenemos colegas de toda la región, tenemos colegas de
We have colleagues
Argentina,
from the
Chile,
entire
Bolivia,
region,
Uruguay,
Argentina, Chile,
Paraguay.
Bolivia,
Tenemos
Uruguay,
colegas también del
Paraguay.
Caribe,
We have
así que
colleagues from
muchísimas
the
gracias por
Caribbean.
estar con
So
nosotros.
we're very delighted
De
that you're here
Perú,
with
de
us today.
Colombia,
We have people from
Bolivia,
Peru, from Colombia,
eh,
Bolivia,
de Guayaquil, Ecuador, también vemos
and
por ahí que nos
Guayaquil,
escriben en el chat.
Ecuador.
Muchísimas gracias
Thank you
por
very much. You're
acompañarnos.
writing to
Vemos
us
que
on this
tenemos una muy
chat.
buena cobertura
It's,
desde Guatemala,
I see
también
we have
República
quite a
Dominicana.
coverage.
Hemos alcanzado
Dominican
la gran
Republic,
mayoría de los países de la región.
Guatemala, we have
Estamos
the
muy
majority of the
contentos sobre
countries
eso.
of the
También
region.
México, también
So
nos
we're
escriben
quite
ahí en el
delighted.
chat.
We see from
Así
Mexico
que buenísimo.
also.
Entonces
This is
vamos a
very good.
seguir.
So we're
Pueden
going to
seguir enviando sus
continue
saludos desde el chat a
sending
todos.
your,
Y vamos a lanzar entonces una segunda pregunta.
we're going to launch a second question.
Vamos a ver. Y ahora queremos saber en qué área
Now we want
trabajan.
to know
Puede
in
ser
what
extensión,
areas do
producción de los
you
animales
work?
terrestres, animales
Is it
acuáticos,
land animals,
desde la producción agrícola o
aquatic animals
salud,
from the
¿cierto?
agricultural
Agrícola, que
sector?
trabajan desde laboratorios
Do
de
you work
análisis,
in
representantes
analysis
antimicrobianos de otros
labs,
laboratorios de
in
análisis. Puede haber también algunos
antimicrobial
colegas
analysis?
que nos
There
estén
could be
acompañando
colleagues
desde el
that
área
are
de
here
epidemiología, encargados de
from
todo el proceso de análisis de datos, un
epidemiology,
tema que
in
vamos a estar viendo
veterinarian
hoy.
products, human
Si
health,
vienen de la parte de
environment,
salud pública, salud humana,
terrestrial
desde ambiente o
animals,
cualquier otra área de la que
any
ustedes se
other
preocupen, por favor, nos
area,
acompañan
environment,
ahí
please let us
con
know.
su respuesta. Vamos viendo que la mayoría viene de laboratorios por ahora.
We
Algunos de
see that the
epidemiología y
majority
también de
comes
producción
from
veterinaria, gran
labs.
parte de los colegas con los que
Um,
estamos el día de hoy. Algunos también de salud humana, muy importante,
we see human
pensando en la
health.
vigilancia integrada y cómo todos estamos
Um,
trabajando hacia ello.
we are working in that
Algunos de
direction.
producción agrícola también, muy
We
bien.
have some agricultural production also, sanitation.
Los que escriban desde otra área, por favor, nos cuentan en el chat.
If you are from other areas, please tell us through the
Desde qué área
chat.
vienen. Si es alguna
What areas are you
está
involved
en
in
este
that are
nivel.
not listed in this survey?
El 34% ya ha contestado.
34%
Vamos
has
a esperar
answered.
unos segundos más. A ver cómo nos va. Desde ambiente, no sé si hay alguien que nos acompaña.
Is there anybody from the environment?
Ahí nos siguen escribiendo colegas de Cuba. algunos colegas desde el área acuícola, de inocuidad también hay algunos. Bueno, vamos a dejar hasta aquí el poll y vamos a ver los resultados.
We'll see the results now.
Vemos entonces que la mayoría de los colegas que nos acompañan el día de hoy
So I can
vienen
see that the
de
majority of our
laboratorios
colleagues
diagnósticos,
that are here are
también
from
algunos de la parte
diagnosis,
terrestre,
diagnostic
producción
laboratories,
animal, algunos
terrestrial
también de
animal
bioenergía,
health
producción veterinaria,
production.
y también
Some
un
comes
porcentaje importante,
from
casi el 20%
an
de los colegas que
important,
están con
almost
nosotros el día de
20%
hoy
of our colleagues
provienen
today
del sector de
come
salud humana,
from
así que excelente.
human
Muchísimas gracias.
health.
Tenemos a
So
representantes de
thank
todos
you
nuestros
very
sectores
much
y eso sin duda
for
va
the
a enriquecer
representatives of all the
la
different
participación
sectors.
y
I
discusión que
think this
tengamos
will
durante el día de hoy.
provide us with
Vamos
a wealth
entonces
of
con
background
una
for
tercera
today's
pregunta y ya voy a dar
presentations.
el
So
paso a
we'll go with
nuestros
the third
expositores
question, and then
y
I
queremos
will open the
conocer por
floor
parte
to our
de
presenters.
ustedes
So on your behalf, we would like to
cuáles
see
son las principales
which are the main,
necesidades
what are
que
the
ven
main
ustedes
needs to
en su país
strengthen in
para
your
fortalecer la
country,
vigilancia de la resistencia de
to
los antimicrobianos desde
strengthen
el sector del agropecuario, ¿no? Desde animales
AMR,
y desde alimentos, tanto sector animal como agrícola
surveillance
y
in
dentro del
animals
sector
and
animal
food in the agricultural area and in
terrestre
the
y acuático.
animal sector,
Que los
both
invitamos a que
terrestrial and
puedan compartir
aquatic.
con nosotros
So please
estas
share with us your
respuestas.
viewpoints with these responses provided.
Aquí vamos viendo cómo elementos importantes
We
son el
see
diseño e implementación de
how
planes de vigilancia,
important elements
las
are the
capacidades de gestión
technical
y análisis de datos. Bueno,
capacities
algunos
of
ya están con
laboratory
nosotros el día
staff,
de hoy, eso es precisamente lo que vamos a estar
design, and we will be
conversando. Vemos también
seeing
que un elemento
some conversations.
importante
There's
es
an important
la
element,
voluntad política y el
which
apoyo
is the
institucional.
political will and
Vemos también
institutional
cómo
support.
destaca la
We see
coordinación
how it's
multisectorial y la
important
colaboración
the
entre sectores.
multi-sectoral
Sabemos que es
coordination and
un
collaboration among
aspecto muy
stakeholders.
complejo
This
para
is
todos los
very
países, no solamente
complex
aquí en la
for
región,
all countries,
pero también hemos visto
not
cómo
only in the
poco a
region, but
poco
we have seen
todos
how
hemos estado
slowly
avanzando en
we have all been
ayudar
progressing
a
in
conectar, ¿cierto?, a las
helping
distintas
to
instituciones que trabajan
connect
sobre
the
resistencia a los
institutions that
antimicrobianos en
work
general
in
y específicamente
microbial
específicamente en vigilancia.
and
Capacidades técnicas,
participate
también vemos algunos colegas que
above
están
all the surveillance
comentando
of
que
this. We
estos
are
pueden ser
seeing
elementos
that these could be
que
elements
todavía falta potenciar a nivel
that are
nacional.
still lacking at the national level.
Otros también los invitamos a que
Other, we invite you
nos cuenten en el chat
to tell us
qué
in the
otro
chat,
elemento
what
necesitarían
other
para
element would you
fomentar
be needing to encourage and promote
la vigilancia en resistencia a los
the
antimicrobianos en su país.
surveillance of antimicrobial substances in your countries?
Vamos, quedan algunos que todavía
Now,
participan.
let's see. There are still some people to
Por mientras les puedo
respond.
contar que somos 88 ya los conectados a la
We're
sesión.
88 people participating already.
Y bueno, vemos que finalmente,
We
al
see
parecer,
that
lo que más se
finally
necesita a
what we need
nivel nacional
most
para potenciar la vigilancia en
at the
resistencia a los
national
antimicrobianos
level
resalta
to
el diseño e implementación de planes de vigilancia de la
strengthen
resistencia a los antimicrobianos,
AMR,
las capacidades para la gestión de
the
análisis de
capacities
datos. La voluntad política
for
también me parece como un elemento muy importante.
data management,
Capacidades
political
técnicas
will,
también
and
es algo
institutional
importante.
support seems
Y
very
vemos también que nos
fundamental.
escriben en el
And
chat
we see that some
los
are
recursos
writing to us on the
económicos,
chat,
¿verdad? Que muchas veces, sobre
economic
todo en
resources that
tiempos
many
actuales, están
times
siendo realmente
in current
complejos
days
y es algo
they have
necesario para
become very
potenciar, en
complex, and
este
it's
caso,
something very
vigilancia a
necessary
la
to
resistencia a los
promote
antimicrobianos. Protocolos de bioseguridad
the
efectivos, también nos escribe
surveillance.
Brenda Castro.
We also see from Brenda Castro, who has written on
Y
the chat.
ya hemos alcanzado una participación
We
sustantiva
have
y vemos que
reached
por ahí
a
vamos
substantial
viendo las
participation,
necesidades de nuestros países.
and we will see the
Muy bien.
responses
Entonces,
from the different
para
countries.
continuar con nuestro webinario, les agradezco su activa
We
participación en
will,
en
to
esta primera
continue with this
etapa
webinar,
y
we thank you
vamos
for your
entonces
participation in this first
a
stage.
dar
We will now
paso a las presentaciones.
begin with the
Pero antes de eso
presentations.
quisiera que todos pudiesen
But
encender
before
sus
that,
cámaras
I would
ahora sí
like
para que
you all
podamos
to
tomar
turn
una
on your cameras
fotografía
so we
y
can
pudiésemos
take
compartir
a
luego este momento
picture
a
of
través
this
de nuestras
image of
redes y
this
con
event so
ustedes
that
también.
we can
Les pido por favor encender sus
have
cámaras.
an image of this event. Please turn on your cameras, all of you, so we can see you all.
Yo les voy a ir
And
avisando.
I will be informing you.
Ok, ¿todos listos? Sonrían, tienen que
Okay,
mantener la sonrisa
everyone
ahí
ready?
unos minutos.
Keep your smile.
Veo ahí también que hay algunos que se agrupan para
And
tomar la
see,
foto.
there are some people that are grouping to have a
Vamos
picture
con la siguiente.
taken. We'll go to the next page.
Ahí estamos.
There we are.
Eso, muchísimas gracias. Bueno,
Very
somos
good.
90
Thank
ya.
you very much. We're already
Espero que
90
logremos
people
superar las 100 personas que
participating.
se nos conectan,
I hope that
que nos
we
acompañan hoy día.
can
Y
have
entonces con eso
all those that are
quiero
registered to
dar el paso a
participate
nuestra primera
originally. So
presentación de
now we
esta
will have the
sesión.
first presentation for today
Para ya entrar un poco en qué
so that
consiste este
we
sistema
can
InFARM
talk a
y
little
el
bit
ecosistema
about what
InFARM.
InFARM is
Luego vamos a ir
about.
viendo también cómo
Then we will
funciona
go
en vivo, ¿cierto?
to
Ustedes van a poder
analyze how it
chequear y también
works
vamos a
live. You'll be
presentar
able
temas
to check
internacionales
this and we'll be
en
able
la
to see
región
the
sobre
national
el llamado
experiences in the
global de datos
region,
del año 2024.
which is
Entonces,
the
para comenzar con este
2024
tema InFARM, yo
global
quiero dejar
event.
con ustedes
So
al
to
doctor
begin with
Alejandro
InFARM,
Bravo. Él es
I would like
oficial de
to
calidad animal de la
introduce
FAO
Alejandro
y es
Bravo.
quien está
He
liderando el desarrollo de
represents
InFARM a
the
nivel global.
leadership of InFARM
Alejandro,
global
todo
level
tuyo.
Muchas gracias, Ángeles,
for us,
y muchas gracias a
Alejandro
todos
Dorado.
por uniros
Thank you
a
all,
esta
and thank you
conversación.
for being a part of this
Voy a
conversation.
presentar
I am
brevemente
going to
el sistema
again
InFARM de una forma, espero, bastante
introduce
ligera
InFARM in a very simple
para
manner
incitar un poco el interés, ¿no?
that I hope
en esta
to
llamada global, en
promote
esta segunda
the
llamada global que
interest
tenemos.
in the
¿Me
second
dices, Ángeles, a
open
ver si estoy
call at the
compartiendo la
global
pantalla
level that we
de
have?
manera adecuada?
Sí,
Creo que
sí,
tengo que
está
poner...
bien. Ahí está perfecto.
Ahora ya no, ahora no está bien.
Ahora no está
Ahora no,
bien.
ok, espera. Le doy un cambio al... Ok,
Ahí sí.
muchas gracias,
All
Ángeles.
right, here we go.
Pues bueno,
Very good.
simplemente
Thank you,
les quería
Angeles.
hacer
I would just like
digamos,
to
un viaje a
give
través de
you
la visión general
a
que tenemos
trip
del sistema
around
InFARM.
this general
Como sabéis, acabamos de
process
empezar
of
hace bastante
InFARM.
poco
As you
con la
know, we began
implementación.
just
En el
recently
año
with the
2024 tuvimos
implementation.
la primera
In
llamada de datos.
2024, we had the
Entonces,
first
esto es
data collection open call.
una visión general que vamos a
We
dar
have a general
para
vision,
que
a
tengan,
general outlook, let's say, just to give you
una idea de cómo estamos implementando
so you have an
desde el año
idea of how we're
2024.
implementing this since
Simplemente comenzar
2024.
con la situación que tenemos
I'd like
actualmente
to
en muchos
begin
países.
with the current
Esta es la situación que
situation that we
tenemos en
have
muchos
in many
países. Durante
countries. This
muchos
is what
años en la
we
FAO
face
y
in many
también a nivel
countries.
nacional se ha
In
promovido
FAO and
la
at the
generación de
domestic
datos
level,
de
there is
resistencia
a
antimicrobiana
generation of
en
data
diferentes instituciones, en
in
diferentes
different
públicas y privadas,
environments,
y
in
actualmente tenemos
different
una
public
cantidad
and
masiva de
private.
datos, especialmente en
Addition,
la
we
región
have
de
massive
Latinoamérica. En
amounts
muchos países hay
of
muchísimos
data.
datos, pero
Latin
falta un poco de
America, we have a
coordinación
great
en
deal of
algunos
data.
casos
We're
y también
lacking
falta la
some
capacidad de
coordination
transformar esos
and the
datos.
capacity to
Esto, por
transform
supuesto,
those
puede
that
generar
data.
diferentes
Uh,
emociones, ¿no? Emociones de
this can
angustia, de
create
desesperación,
anguish,
pero también es
this
una gran
despair,
oportunidad. Y esta gran
but it
oportunidad
is
es la
a
que hemos visto en
major
FAO para continuar
opportunity for
avanzando en
FAO to
la implementación de
continue
sistemas de vigilancia
progressing in the
para
implementation of
transformar esos
surveillance
datos en
processes.
información útil que los países puedan utilizar para la implementación y para la toma de
Useful
decisiones
information that
políticas
the
en
countries
cuanto a los
can
resistenciados
use
antimicrobianos
for
en los
different
sectores agropecuarios.
organization in the antimicrobial system.
Simplemente aquí comentar que el sistema InFARM se
I just
encuadra
wanted to say
dentro de
that the
una
InFARM
arquitectura
system
cuatripartita.
is in an
Colaboramos con la
architecture that
Organización
has
Mundial
4
de la
parts,
Salud, que se
and
encarga
we
de
collaborate
la
with the
recogida de datos en
WHO that is
resistencia y en
in
uso
charge of
en
getting
humanos.
information
También
about
colaboramos
resistance and
con
use
la
in
OMSA,
humans. We
la
also
Organización Mundial de Sanidad
collaborated with
Animal,
the
que se
OMSA,
encarga
with
de
the
recoger datos
Animal Health
de uso de
Organization,
antibióticos en animales
and
terrestres y
they see
acuáticos
the
a nivel
use of
nacional
antibiotics
a
in
través del
terrestrial
sistema
and
INIMS.
aquatic
Y en el caso de InFARM,
animals
bajo
with
nuestra
our Animuse
responsabilidad,
system. And
está
in InFARM,
colectar
in
los
our
datos de
responsibility is to
resistencia
collect
en animales
information
y
in
en
terms of
alimentos
resistance
y
in
también
animals and
los datos
in
de
feed,
uso en plantas,
and also the
en
use
salud
in
vegetal.
plants, in
Bajo el sistema
vegetable, in
InFARM,
plant.
bajo el sistema Animus y bajo el sistema GLASS,
health. In the three systems, we see different types of information, and those different types of information are going to be shared annually in a platform that we are developing right now with the GISA, according to the acronym in English. It's the system of information. It's a global integrated system for surveillance in terms of resistance and the use of antimicrobials. So in this system, we're going to integrate these three platforms, and the agency of the environment, UNEP, is going to be able to participate as well as part of the integrated system. But we are still having conversations with them to see how we are going to be coordinating this activity, this joint activity with gathering information and resistance in the environment. The approach of surveillance in InFARM, here I would like to emphasize that what we want to do with InFARM is to have a global system of information. The global systems of information gather information and data at a higher level than what you could expect at a national level or at a district or provincial level, where the granularity of the data is much stronger. Now, in the case of a global system of information, we're talking about the global platform, and we are going to provide a demo in this presentation, but also we have the digital platform and the website. We also are talking about the activities that support the countries in the recollection, analysis, visualization, and finally, which is the most important thing, the effective use of the surveillance data for the monitoring of the RAMP. And we're focusing on aquaculture, fishing, and livestock, and everything that is related to that. And currently, in this year, 2025, we're also expanding the system to be able to gather information in the antimicrobials in the plant production. In this aspect, we're going to be working in October. It's not open right now, but we have the infrastructure and all of the technical part to open a global call from October this year. As part of the system, we have tools, we have products of knowledge, we have the webpage, we have different guides that help the countries establish their surveillance systems and to do the programming and identifying the bacteria of interest and all of the different steps that need to be developed in a national process of surveillance. We also have technical steps. We have a network of collaborative centers, reference centers, and also as part of the system, we have the assessment tool for labs and for surveillance of the RAMP. We have the Atlas tool. This tool has been implemented in more than 50 countries already to assess surveillance systems and more than 300 labs in the world. With that tool, what we want to do is to help the countries in a progressive way to strengthen their capabilities for the surveillance and also for the labs so that they can do the identification and the characterization of the resistance. In the Atlas system, we have a graduation of the capacity levels from 1 to 5, and this allows us to use the Atlas system as a quality measure of the data that we are going to be getting in the InFARM application. Through Atlas and along with InFARM, we're going to be able to carry out sensitivity assessments to see what is the capability of each one of the countries and what level of reliability we have with the InFARM. Now we are digitalizing the tool, and we hope we have a beta, a testing format for this year. In the surveillance of InFARM, it is very important to consider the theoretical framework that we're proposing. It's a framework that is going to allow the countries to organize their surveillance throughout the food chain in all of the different points of the food chain, but also with different purposes. The purpose of human health, but animal health, but also public health. Under the umbrella of animal health, we have two surveillance programs, the terrestrial and the aquatic sick animals. We're talking about surveillance systems that are passive, that are going to gather samples through labs of clinical evaluation, and we have the isolation of pathogens in animals. This is for animal health, for everything related to passive surveillance. And then we have the public health area. In the public health area, we're not going to consider the pathogens of the animals, but in pathogens for humans that are going to be transferred in all of the human chain, the food chain, and that get to the consumer through foods. We have three programs that are developed. The program of healthy aquatic and terrestrial animals. Here, this has monitoring that is active in the farms. We have live surveillance as well, live animal surveillance. And there we have surveillance of the different distribution and supermarket. The theoretical framework allows to group the information. We're going to talk about surveillance programs throughout the presentation, but it is important to say that this is the theoretical framework that we're going to be proposing to the countries so that they can group their information and they can consolidate the networks of surveillance at a national level. In the early implementation of InFARM, we had 3 stages of implementation up to 2030, including the early stage of implementation, then we have the expansion, and then we have the consolidation. Up to now, we are in an early stage of implementation. We started with the launch of the first open call of data in 2024. We carried out trainings for focal points last year with 167 participants of 46 countries in 3 regions, Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And after we closed this call, we had more than 50 countries enrolled. 49 of them sent information in the questionnaires of implementation. And in this implementation questionnaires, we evaluated the level of implementation of activities of surveillance in the country and how they organize their surveillance from the point of view of the technical aspect, but also from governance. In those 49 countries that sent qualitative data of how they are implementing surveillance, 28 of them also showed us information about the resistance of antimicrobials through susceptibility tests that came from 500,000 of bacterial isolated. And we have RAM information with 500,000 of isolated samples. We are going to launch the first open call at the beginning of 2026 or end of 2025. In this compiling of information, we're also going to have consultations with the countries. We're going to involve all of the focal points that participated in 2024 so that they can agree with the publication of this first report. The second call is just open in July, and we invite all the countries in any level of implementation they are at, even in the first steps of implementation, or if they have small pilot programs, or if they haven't started with surveillance, but they want to start with that, we invite all the countries to join the program, because the only requirement to participate in InFARM is to enroll and then to fill the questionnaire about the implementation of surveillance. This is a questionnaire that is adapted to all levels of implementation. Then, as an option, and as we motivate all of the countries to do so, of course, we hope that you can send the information of the results for the antimicrobial resistance. This is just to give you a view that in 2024 we had these trainings in Latin America, in Asia Pacific, and we involved Asia Pacific, and we were able to expand the support, not just at the level of headquarters, but also to all of our colleagues from FAO that are part of InFARM and that are helping us for in the expansion and also in the participation of all of the countries globally.
Ahora me gustaría mostrar un poco de los resultados
Now, I
iniciales
would
que
like to
estamos
show you a little bit of
compilando en
the
el informe
initial
actual.
results that
Son
we are
resultados iniciales. Me
compiling.
gustaría también
These are
anunciar que
first
esto
results, and I would
es
like
información
to
que alguna
say
es
that this is
confidencial, alguna
information,
no es tan
but some of
confidencial.
that is
En este caso el
confidential
mapa no es
and
nada
some
confidencial,
other
esto
is
ya
not.
de
The
hecho está
map is
publicado
not
en la página
confidential
web,
at all. It's
pero me gustaría
actually
que lo tomaran
published in the
como
web page, but
digamos,
I would like
como un primer gusto
I
de
would
lo
like
que
you to
vamos a
see
tener en el
this
reporte.
as a sneak
Es
peek
simplemente un análisis inicial.
of
En este
what
caso
is going
tenemos el
on. This
mapa
is
con
just
los
a
países que
first
se inscribieron en el año
analysis
2024, con los
of the
49
countries that
países.
were enrolled in
28 de estos países que
2024,
actualmente están en
28
verde en el
of
mapa
this that
enviaron
are in
datos de
green
RAM
in the
a
map
diferentes
sent
niveles de
RAM
confidencialidad.
information at
Es
levels,
importante
at different levels of
también decir que
confidentiality.
en el sistema
It is
InFARM
important
se
also
pueden
to say
enviar
that in
datos
the
de resistencia
InFARM system,
antimicrobiana
you
en
can send
diferentes niveles de
information of
confidencialidad. Hay
antimicrobial
países que
resistance in
prefieren
different levels
enviarlos
of
en completa
resistance. There are some
confidencialidad a
countries
nivel
that
1.
want to send this
Esos
completely
países no
confidentially at
muestran su
level 1,
identidad a la hora de
and
enviar
those countries
datos y a
do
la hora
not
de crear datos
show
agregados.
their
A nivel 2,
information
también hay
at the
países que están
level
enviando a
of
nivel 2 que
aggregated
tampoco quieren mostrar su
information.
identidad,
There are other
pero que quieren
countries,
formar
level
parte
2, that do
de
not
los
want to
datos
show their
agregados a
identity
nivel regional o
as well,
global.
but they
Y hay
want to be
países que no
part
tienen
of
ningún problema
the
en mostrar
data.
sus
And there are
datos
other countries that are not,
y con su identidad de
that do
país.
not care
Por
if
ello,
their
ponemos todos los
information
países
is
en
shown
verde
or not.
y
So
no se
all of
puede
the countries
identificar
here
cuál
are
de
in
ellos
green,
está
and
mandando
you
información
cannot
en
identify
restos
who is
antimicrobianos.
sending information
De todos estos
on
países, tuvimos
microbial
96 envíos
resistance.
de cuestionarios de vigilancia. Los cuestionarios de
We
vigilancia
had
están
the
desarrollados por
questionnaires of
programa de
surveillance, and
vigilancia.
the questionnaires of
Tenemos
surveillance are
un cuestionario de
developed
vigilancia para
by
animales terrestres enfermos,
for
para animales
terrestrial
acuáticos
sick
enfermos,
animals
animales
and
sanos,
for sick aquatic
terrestres y
animals,
acuáticos, y
for
otro cuestionario de
healthy
vigilancia para
terrestrial
alimentos
animals, and for
en
healthy
procesamiento o
aquatic
en punto de
animals.
venta.
So all of this is going to
De
be
todos estos
processed in the
envíos, la
sales
mayor parte vinieron de
point.
África.
Almost all of this
59% de
came
los
from
envíos
Africa,
de cuestionarios,
59%
después
of
de
the
Asia,
questionnaires that were
después de
returned,
América,
then from
tuvimos
Asia, and then
16% de
from
los
America.
países
We had
representando un
16% of the countries
14% de los
that
envíos
represented a
y una menor parte en Europa y en
14.6%
Oceanía.
of returns of the information.
Bueno, también mencionar aquí que en Europa los datos muchos países no los han enviado
In
porque
Europe, many
en
countries have
Europa,
not
a nivel de la
sent
Unión
the
Europea,
information because at the
tenemos un
level of the
sistema
European
global de
Union,
recogida de
we have a
información
global
solamente para la Unión
system of
Europea
gathering
a través de la
information just
Agencia
for the
Europea
European
de
Union
Seguridad
through
Alimentaria
the European
y
Agency
muchos
of
países
Food
están
Safety.
esperando
And
un
many
acuerdo que estamos
countries
desarrollando
are
actualmente con la Agencia Europea de
expecting
Seguridad
an
Alimentaria para
agreement that
recibir
we're
todos los
working
datos
on with
de los
the
27 países
European
miembros de la Unión Europea
Food Safety
directamente del
Agency.
sistema.
So
De
we
forma que no
are
tengan que hacer doble
they're
trabajo
waiting for
de
that so that they
reportar
do not
a
have
la
to
Agencia Europea y también
double
reportar al
work
sistema INFA. De esta
reporting
manera
to
solamente
the
reportan a la
INFA
Agencia
and to the
Europea
European
y
Union.
luego
That
nos
way,
llegan los
they're
datos
just going to
directamente a
report to the
través de
European
EFSA, de la
agency,
Agencia
and
Europea
then
sin
they are
necesidad de
going to
más trabajo.
send us the information without
En cuanto
doing double
al
work.
análisis de los cuestionarios de vigilancia,
In terms
la
of
mayor
the
parte de los cuestionarios
analysis of the
corresponden a programas de
the
vigilancia
questionnaires
en
correspond to
animales
surveillance
terrestres
systems
sanos.
in
Me
healthy
gustaría enfatizar
terrestrial
esto porque
animals. I would
esto
like to
también
emphasize on
demuestra
that
que hay
because this
algunas
also
brechas y
shows that
algunas
there are some
necesidades
gaps
también de
and there are
fortalecer
some needs
más
as well
vigilancia
to
en otros programas
strengthen more
que
surveillance
tenemos en
in
INFARM,
other
sobre
programs
todo en el
that we
programa de
have in
animales
InFARM,
acuáticos, en los
mainly in the
programas de
aquatic
alimentos
animals
y en los
program, in
programas
the
de
food
animales
programs,
enfermos.
and
Hay
in the
necesidad de
sick
enfatizar
animal
que
programs.
el
So
objetivo es
there's a
también cubrir
need to
toda la cadena
emphasize that the
alimentaria y
objective
los
is to
diferentes
cover all
propósitos
of
de
the food
vigilancia
chain
que
and the
tenemos
different
en los
surveillance
sectores
purposes that
agropecuarios.
we have in the agricultural system.
Respecto a resultados iniciales, en los análisis
Now
de
about
cuestionario de
the first
vigilancia tenemos
results,
diferentes rubros,
we
diferentes secciones.
have different
Por un lado
areas,
tenemos
different
las estrategias de
sections.
vigilancia. Aquí
On the one
simplemente me
side, we
gustaría hacer
have the surveillance strategies. I
simplemente
would like
marcar,
to just
digamos,
show
lo
you
más
here
importante que hemos
what
visto
is
en
the
el
most
análisis
important thing
preliminar.
that we have
Hemos
seen
visto
in
que en
the
cuanto a estrategias
preliminary
de
analysis.
vigilancia,
In terms of
están presentes principalmente en
surveillance
animales terrestres
strategies,
sanos, pero
we
no
saw
en
that this
en
was
los otros
present
programas de
in
vigilancia. Y
healthy
hay un
terrestrial
nivel
animals, but
moderado de
not in other
aprobación
programs.
gubernamental
And
y
there's a
asignación de
moderate level
fondos.
of
Esto también
approval
lo hemos
from the
visto en
government and
las
from the
respuestas iniciales
fund
que teníamos
allocation.
en el
We
webinario,
have seen this
donde hemos
in the
visto que una de
first
las
responses
preocupaciones,
of the
el
webinar. One of
25%,
the
recuerdo,
concerns,
creo recordar,
25%,
Ángeles,
I
que teníamos en
remember,
la pantalla
that we
de
had on the
los
screen
participantes, está diciendo que
from the
necesita más
participants, they were
apoyo del
saying that
gobierno, más apoyo
they needed
financiero
more
para la
support from the
implementación
government and
de
more
estos
financial
programas de
support
vigilancia.
for the
En
implementation
cuanto a
of the
los
surveillance programs. Now, in terms of the components of the surveillance network, when we talk about the components of a RAM surveillance network, we're talking about peripheral labs that generate a volume of data that is needed for surveillance, also reference labs that are going to support the this peripheral network of labs, and also the epidemiology part, analysis, data, dissemination. 49% of the countries have the three components that are key already established, but 14 of them informed not having any. So this shows us that there's a big need from the country level, at a government level, to strengthen this network and to integrate them as the joint part. There's a disconnect, a systematic disconnect from everything that is related to the network sector and the national center, or the coordination center that is centralized in epidemiology. So there's a disconnect in these two components, and this is a gap that we have analyzed. In terms of the lab methods, we see conventional methodologies for susceptibility, and 80% are using a diffusion in disk, and most countries, 77%, are using the CLSI norms. In terms of report of results, we see a big gap as well. 57% of the countries inform in a periodical way. They are public, or they give them to different stakeholders. But this percentage is very low. So that is why we put this picture here. It's like a broken speaker. We have this disconnect between the generation of information from the labs and how this information is just stagnated there. They're not using the speakers. The dissemination part is not being done in terms of the epidemiological information for all of the stakeholders. And here I would like to not talk about the qualitative data, but what we have seen in the RAM information. The samples that were more used were broilers, and the biggest, or the microorganism that was found more frequently, was E. coli. So it was this was in this kind of animals. Here I would like to show you the type of visualizations in multi-country information. This is information that we are aggregating in different countries. So I just wanted to show you how this information would be shown in prevalence. We see a mean of antimicrobial resistance along 9 countries. So 9 countries for Escherichia coli and for E. coli, and we see a framework that has different areas. When we start stratifying in E. coli, in broilers, in terrestrial animals that are healthy, so we have pilot programs, national pilot programs that show us the representativity, statistically speaking, and in all of the income levels. When we started stratifying, we did not have enough countries to stratify. Now we have 9 countries where we can do this kind of analysis on. In this graph, each one of the points is going to show a country, and then we're going to see how we see the combinations of the mean and the prevalence for E. coli for each one of the antibiotics. And we see the prevalence in all of the panel of antibiotics. So this is just an example, but we can make many comparisons in terms of how we see the means between the higher income countries and the lower income countries. So these comparatives are anonymous. We're not going to be showing the identity of the countries here, also for your peace of mind. And we just wanted to give an example of the type of report that we can generate. As next steps, the biggest priority is the preparation of national calls. We have the call of 2025 until December 21st, and the strengthening of the national capacities through the course of the Virtual Learning Center, which is the center that is open from July the 1st. This is already available. Regretfully, this is just in English for now, but we can can work on the translations. I think that would be ready for 2026. But if you can use English in a fluent way, you can follow this course. This is a self-learning course, and we're going to advance to a second course that is going to be self-guided, but it's also going to have active participation in webinars such as this one. This is going to be open in September. And we're also carrying out trainings for focal points.
We are
Now we
also
finished
doing
working
focal point
in
training,
Asian Bangkok,
which
where we had
we've just come back from a meeting
essentially we
where we
have
had
had
more
more
than
than 50 countries
participating
there
in this
to be
training,
able to be part of this.
so that this call for 2025 is provided as training. In addition, we have other priorities, generating protocols to implement prevalence surveys, to ensure that all the sectors in the food chain are represented: aquatic, diseased animals, food, and the use of antimicrobial plants, amongst others. So just to conclude, I would like to set forth a reflection to illustrate the importance of all the activities that we're promoting from FAO have a significance at the country level. We emphasize the need for countries to have surveillance plans at the national level, but also strategies. This will be the glue that you will require to ask for more funds so that you can have AMR surveillance budgets. It is also very important for countries to step away from the situation of a massive amount of data that are underutilized through this application of the tools, which is the case of the InFARM of application that should be used. We encourage countries to find support in their focal points in the InFARM and Atlas communities, and also establish epidemiological units for the use and dissemination of the action information that requires to be implemented, so that these two cables are connected, which are currently disconnected. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, Maria Angeles, I stepped beyond the time allocated. It's all right, Alejandro. Thank you for giving us this great amount of information and how important the InFARM information platform works, and also important data to see how countries are progressing in this area. Thank you very much for that. So now we have a question, Alejandro, just one, and I would like to invite you to set forth your questions or queries that you might have. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a segment that will be related to all the presentations we have today. At this moment in time, we will see other questions that come about. When you talk about prevalence, are you talking about strains that are resistant to antibiotics? Yes, exactly. When we are talking about surveillance, in the case of InFARM, we're talking about surveillance at the microbial level. We're not doing surveillance based on samples. The samplings would allow us, for example, to have a response of salmonella prevalence, for example, in the case of a certain amount of food. Now we're focusing rather in the isolations of salmonella that already exist. What is the percentage of resistance? So let's say we're talking about surveillance of isolated ash, for example, the glass of the World Health Organization in the case of surveillance. Yes, exactly. Thank you for that question. Thank you, Alejandro. Now we're going to continue with our webinar. Alejandro, can you stop sharing so we can invite the next presentation? There we go. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we will now have a moment where we can go over some documents related to the InFARM platform and navigate a little and set forth a
y cómo lo van a ver ustedes al
simulation
momento
and
de
how you are
ingresar.
going to see the platform the
Y para
moment
eso
you enter.
tenemos a
And
Agnes
for that,
Agunos, ella es
we have
especialista en
Ignacia
vigilancia y
Uno,
seguimiento en
who
respuesta a
is an
riesgos microbianos y
expert
es parte del
in this
equipo
aspect. She's
InFARM.
part of the
Ella
team.
es quien nos va a comentar un poco
She's
más sobre
Agnes
este
Agunos.
sistema.
She will be
Les
telling us
adelanto que
about
Agnes
this.
habla en inglés,
I would
así que
like to
aprovechen de cambiar
remind you that Agnes
la
speaks
interpretación.
English.
Un
Therefore,
segundo.
we will go into Spanish now. So please change your languages if you
Sí,
require
Agnes,
it.
todo tuyo. Adelante.
Agnes, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me, guys? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Buenos dias, colegas. Good morning, everyone. My name is Agnes. I live in Canada, and I am a veterinarian. Okay. So just before we start with the platform, there are important websites I think that you should know. Maybe one of my colleagues could maybe paste the websites for our colleagues. So one is the main FAO InFARM website. That's showing you here. You can see my screen. Sorry, it's split into two because for ease of sharing. We have here the InFARM manual and information about the InFARM system is here as well. This is also the location where you can download the different data. We have the InFARM manual. This is in English, but if you click on here, the Spanish version is here, the French and Russian versions. The handbook for Data Call 2025. This is just a very short document that is complementary to this main manual document. And then it is also in English. We could also have that translated in Spanish if resources would allow. The InFARM implementation fact sheet, this is just a truncated version of what InFARM is, as well as the technical requirement. The InFARM data model, this is the Excel spreadsheet. This is the file that you will need to enter the InFARM data, transforming the national AMR data that you currently have into the InFARM data model. So the technical specifications, the detailed requirement of the data for InFARM, they are all explained here, as well as the templates that you will need. And then this is the most important one, the InFARM enrollment questionnaire. And this is what is shown on the left-hand side of your screen. If you can see this also. Very briefly, so this enrollment request form is the former enrollment surveillance questionnaire. So it does not change much, but this is documents where it tells you what to do with this form. This is to be submitted to us, to the FAO AMR InFARM email. It is stated here. So it details the step-by-step instructions for focal point. There is a section where you need to fill the designated focal point here. There's a drop-down menu, tells you the corresponding AMR domain that you represent. So they are all here. We are asking for the name, of course, the email address, and the phone number. We won't be calling you, so there's no worry if you cannot provide those. There's also a section, the name and contact details of the person filling this enrollment form. In some cases, we have also our colleagues from the FAO and other staff within the government net or AMR surveillance network coordinating the gathering of information for this document. There's also a section on additional information for national AMR focal points by sector, and this is optional, and they only have read-only privileges. So they cannot amend or respond to the surveillance questionnaire, as well as upload data. But they can visualize the completed AMR analysis through the interactive data platform, which I will be showing in the next few minutes. And there is the section. This was also derived from the original enrollment questionnaire. And so these are just pertaining to your country participation in the InFARM data call. And we are also interested to know the reasons why you cannot submit and the type of credentials you are requesting, as well as the technical support needed for AMR surveillance and monitoring. We may not be able to provide support to the individual countries, but the information derived from this enrollment request form would allow us to prioritize the support that we could provide to the country. Okay, so that is the enrollment questionnaire. And then let's go into the login, the InFARM training environment. We are just using this platform as a playground to getting familiar with the actual InFARM official IT platform. And so the functionality and data may change without notice. And do not upload real data here, or so you cannot test some of your AMR files that you created according to the InFARM data model using this platform. So this is just for instructional purposes. We take this also when we have the regional trainings, as well as when individual countries requesting technical assistance. In real life situation, you will receive your credentials once you submit the enrollment enrollment request form. I forgot to mention that you no longer need to upload that enrollment request form. Sending it to the FAO InFARM email address would suffice for you to provide your information about the focal points. So for example, here I have the credentials that I received from the FAO InFARM email. I'm going to log in. Let's see if it would work. And so it will take you to this site. It did not show me if I could click the terms of use, but in real life situation, you have that option that you have to click the terms of use before you get into the actual InFARM IT platform. So you will see this, and you will see the different menus. The home is where you would, the main landing page. The surveillance questionnaire is where we will enter the data. We can see an example later. The AMR data is where we upload the AMR data files according to the InFARM data model. We have the interactive data visualizations. There's a private interface section and or option and the preview of public interface. So for country level submission, this is what you will see when your data is ready. There is also a document repository. This is only when you wanted to store some documents here. And you see this training material section. This is not appearing in the main official InFARM IT platform. This is just for this training environment. Okay, so just quickly, filling in the surveillance questionnaire. I mentioned a while ago that the focal points assigned would have different responsibility, and they also represent different antimicrobial resistance surveillance programs. You have learned that from Alejandro's presentation. So it could range from healthy terrestrial animals, diseased terrestrial animals, healthy aquatic animals, diseased aquatic animals, and foods at processing and point of sale. There's also an integrated component. For example, I want to create a new questionnaire. You click this, and I am test country 4, and I am representing, for example, this is the most common, surveillance of healthy terrestrial animals. And then I hit continue, and it takes you to the different sections of this questionnaire. It is very lengthy, but you need to fill all this information based on your knowledge about the implementation of the AMR program in your country. There might be some cases that you need, where you need to consult with other departments or units or AMR coordination teams within your country for you to be able to fill this section uh, of the or this requirement. So it has this B2. This pertains to questionnaire and components and implementation of AMR surveillance in healthy terrestrial animals. There's this section on programming, the National AMR Surveillance Network. So this is where we're asking you, for example, you have peripheral laboratories supporting your program. So these are like the different satellite or laboratories across the country that are either conducting routine bacterial isolation and culture or AST or both. And then we also have the NRLs. This is the National Reference Center and the National Coordinating Center. So these components of the network, we are asking them if this structure is available or existing in your country, because this is part of the governance mechanism in the implementation of AMR surveillance program. There's also the epidemiological design about the lab methods and the reporting of results of AMR surveillance in healthy terrestrial animals. So you will have the chance to see all of this once you are enrolled into the platform and to be able to address those accordingly. And then if you have other surveillance components, let's go back here. If you represent a different program also, like here, this is healthy aquatic animals, then you have to also address the questions pertaining to the surveillance program. Moving on to the AMR data. So this is where we submit the transform and prepared AMR data files. This is the actual antimicrobial resistance or susceptibility testing result, plus the associated metadata or surveillance information associated with those isolates. So for this, so just very quickly, you need to create the context data. And for those who participated in last year's training, we have done some exercises where you have to provide these different information needed to properly identify and categorize your data. So you have your country, for example, the years of data collection, representativeness of the data. Just for example, I'm providing data to 2024, but in real life, you can also submit data from 2020 from surveillance information collected in 2025 up to 2024, last year. And then you have here, say, National Surveillance Program. This is the level of representativeness. There are 3 options for this. The limited pilot surveillance. These are point prevalence surveys representing a local level population. So very small, like maybe 1 geographical area and 1 organism and 1 animal species. We also have the pilot surveillance, also a PPS type of surveillance, representing a national level population, meaning that you expanded your pilot surveillance approach into multiple geographical locations. This could be provinces or regions, depending on the units that you have in your country. National is, of course, this is systematic surveillance that is done at a national level, and there is a continuous and ongoing surveillance or established program. And then the surveillance program, healthy terrestrial animals. So as you can see here, this is the different surveillance programs. You've seen the structure, the surveillance structure in Alejandro's presentation a while ago. So I will select healthy terrestrial animal, and then reporting level, I would say reporting level 3. I want the whole world to know that my country is well established and we have a very robust data. But there's also different levels. Level 1 is private only. You won't be able to see or the information that you contributed to InFARM. This is only, I think, appropriate if you are you are on your early stages of implementation of your surveillance program, or maybe you wanted to test the platform, or maybe other reasons. Level 2 is public and private and public. Your country will not be shown in public visualizations, so you will be tagged as anonymous. And then here are some information on the right-hand side of your screen that pertains to your surveillance program. Again, number of farms that you represent, from which AMR data is generated. And so this could be derived from your actual data. If you created a coding system for the farm level or farm level information or individual farm or establishment that you surveyed, for example, 10, or if you're doing also, you also have an slaughter plant data that you merge with the healthy terrestrial animal file, you could say maybe there's 12 slaughter plants that participated and provided sample. The food retail outlet is only available, it's only relevant for the foods, the processing and point of sale program, and the number of diagnostic laboratories is only relevant for diseased animal programs, so aquatic and terrestrial. Because you can see here, the eye, there is also a description of what type of information we are asking. The AST data reporting, just very quickly, there's two options. Option A is the raw AST data at isolate level. So each row in the data set corresponds to one isolate, positive isolate that was tested using either a disk diffusion or microbroth dilution or any other means. Whereas option B is a summarized or analyzed data. One row pertains to the summarized frequency of resistant, intermediate, or susceptible isolates, and any other information, all other information requested according to the InFARM data models A and B. And I see for this demonstration purposes, I would say option A, row AST data, and then you still save this context data. So each time that you upload the data, you need to fill that information. And then you go into the platform, you browse and look for the data you save. And then let's just try this one. And then you upload it. We'll see if this would work. Yes, it does. So this is how it looks like if you uploaded a properly transformed and correct data file. So you would see a preview of the different variables like this. And then now if that you're satisfied with what you see, and then you would just say upload. I think we've done that, and you just submit that for validation. Yeah, it will ask you that you wanted to submit it, and then the status would change into in progress. And then one of us, the InFARM team, would go and validate that data. So moving on to the interactive data visualizations. So after 24 hours, you would see what you have uploaded. Let's just say, let's do the private interface. So I am country 4. These are type of information you would see. So for the interactive data visualization, you would see the general information, like this one. My country profile is this. I have the different organisms. For country 4, I have uploaded a file containing these different organisms. These are Aeromonas are usually coming from aquatic animals. Avibacterium, Paragalinarum, usually coming from diseased animals. The Campylobacter, Enterococcus, E. coli, and Salmonella are coming from healthy terrestrial animals, or maybe some diseased animals as well. So this will just give you a preview of what you have uploaded. These are very useful for generating national level descriptive summaries. You can just extract the information from here. And then there's surveillance sites also. This is coming from the context data. So for country 4, I said that there's 55 farms. Although in the example I said a while ago, it's 10, but combining all the files I submitted, this aggregated all the information I provided in the context data creation stages. So this is also very useful for your descriptive summary if you are writing a national surveillance report each year. The number of isolates, you'll have a table view and graph view. We'll see the graph view. It would look like this. It just provides an overview of the diversity of the species, the specimen, and origin of information coming from your data file. There is also a way that you could do actually maybe separate these different variables here by species, its specimen, and origin, but we can discuss that later on in the actual platform. But these are the type of information you would see. But for analysts, this is probably the most important, the AMR analysis and trends. You would see the number of isolates according to the interpretative criteria. And we have here the species breakdown, the specimen, the origin, the antibiotic. So this is the antibiotic panel. And this is the summarized information based on the data that you provided. You have the resistant, intermediate, and susceptible, and the total number of isolates, because these are based on the Clinical Laboratory Standard Institute, CLSI, interpretative criteria, clinical breakpoints. And you see that for broilers, the cattle, fish, layers, so any species that's part of your data file. And very briefly, we also have the AMR proportions. And here you would see the proportion, the relative frequency of the AMR outcomes, resistant, intermediate, and susceptible. Here you could also see the filters, the different filters. In the training, we asked you to provide the selection that makes sense. For example, because the resistance is specific to a microorganism because of their unique attributes, we have to select that. That's a very basic, I think, requirement for AMR analysis. Also, the species of animals, we need to select them. Here I'm selecting broilers, for example, the most frequently consumed animal, food animal species. And year of sample collection, of course, we cannot combine because they could change over time. Say, I would like to know the most recent AMR profile for broilers and E. coli. So this is what you would see. So you would narrow down the information that you want to analyze like this. For analysts, also, you can download the information here or create a screenshot of this, and you can plug it to your national report or any other utility that you might have. Here we also have the AMR trends. So for this AMR trends visualization, you need multiple years of data. And here, for example, we are doing healthy terrestrial animals. Also, let's say E. coli also. And then we do broilers. We'll do maybe pigs this time. So it's not so they only have 2 years in pigs, but in broilers, let's see. there's 3 years of data for broilers, and here also. So this is extremely useful if you have multiple years and you wanted to monitor if there is an emerging trend. For example, you are monitoring resistance uh, to specific antimicrobials belonging to WHO's highest priority critically important antimicrobials, the third generation cephalosporins, uh, fluoroquinolones, and colistin. So you could also customize the selection of antibiotics. For this particular example, they don't have a lot of resistance, so you don't see those nice trends. But if you go into something like the tetracyclines and sulfasoxazole, these are the older antimicrobials, you would see some resistance levels occurring at very high to moderate levels. And then there are other visualizations here. This is the proportion of a multi-drug resistant organism, or the number of antibiotics to which an organism is resistant to. The same principle, you need to select the proper combination of these different variables, the species, specimen, origin, and if it's relevant, also you can maybe select 1 year or multiple year, the type of program and the scale of monitoring. And finally, we have the MIC distribution. So the minimum inhibitory concentration is only it's only applicable to option A data model, the data model where we have the individual isolates per row. So this is the typical a visualization that you would see, the distribution of the minimum inhibitory concentration. Again, you applied the same filters because the AMR attributes is specific to that organism. And then also the species, because of potential exposure differences between species. And then, you could visualize this by antibiotics also, one by one. And then you could report this also. It could be included in your national report. So it just tells you the distribution of the MICs. And then if you know the breakpoints, you can also plot this in your own reports. So this is ampicillin, for example, and the breakpoint is 32, I think. Who knows the breakpoint of ampicillin using the CLSI? So yeah, any isolates that were inhibited above 32, for example, those are resistant ones, but I cannot remember the breakpoint. But here it's just it gives you a more detailed information about the resistances. Say for ciprofloxacin, we know that the breakpoint of ciprofloxacin is greater than or equal to 0.5. So any isolates that were inhibited above that breakpoint, are considered resistant. And here it shows you the resistant isolate percentage in 2022. It seems that it increased in 2024 to 22%. So to determine the total percentage of resistant isolates, so you need to add those isolates that were inhibited at 1 and 4. So the importance of this visualization is also to validate your percentage resistance. And then pretty much that's it from the interactive data platform. And back to you, Angeles.
Muchas gracias, Agnes. Muchas gracias por hacer.
Thank you very much, Agnes. Thank you for showing us this in a more visual way, what it means to work with InFARM and how countries can enroll and how they can use the platform, how they can enter the information, and how they can visualize the information, how they could use
la preparación de sus
InFARM
reportes
for the preparation
nacionales.
of
Así
their
que muchísimas
national
gracias, Agnes.
reports. So thank you very much,
Ahora
Agnes.
quisiéramos dar
And
el
now
paso a que los
I would
países nos
like to
cuenten
give
sobre
the
su
floor
experiencia
to the
en
countries
el
so
llamado
that
de
they
datos
can
para
tell us about their
2024 a nivel
experience
regional. 7
for the
países participaron
2024
del llamado
information. 27
2024
countries
y el día de
participated
hoy
in the
tenemos a
call for
Chile y a Bolivia
2024, and today we
que
have
están con
Chile
nosotros
and
y nos van a
Bolivia that are here
comentar
with us,
cómo ha
and they are
sido este
going to
proceso.
tell us how
Así
this
que en una
process
primera
has
instancia
been.
quiero invitar
So
a
in a first
nuestros
instance,
colegas
I would
de
like
Chile.
to invite our colleagues
Con
from
nosotros
Chile.
está
We
Carolina
have
Marambio,
Carolina Marambio
jefa de
with us.
subdepartamento de
She's
registros
the
y control de
head of
medicamentos
the
veterinarios
Department of
del Departamento
Control
de Sanidad
of
Animal y de la División de
Veterinarian
Protección
Medicines
Pecuaria del Servicio Agrícola y
from
Ganadero. Y
the
tenemos también con nosotros a
SAG.
Diego
And
Ruiz,
also we have
quien es
Diego
agente
Ruiz,
químico y
who is
encargado
a
del
chemical
Laboratorio de
analyst and person in
Serotipificación y
charge of the
Resistencia a los
serotypification
Antimicrobianos
and
del
resistance to
Subdepartamento de
antimicrobials
Laboratorios
from
de
the
Sanidad
Department of
Animal
Labs
del Servicio
in
Agrícola y Ganadero.
the SAG as well.
Así que, por favor, Carolina, Diego,
So Carolina,
todo
Diego,
suyo este
please
espacio.
go
Muchísimas gracias.
ahead. Thank you very much.
Buenos días a todos y todas.
Good
No
morning,
sé si se ve
everyone.
bien la presentación.
I don't know if you
Sí,
can see my presentation well.
Gracias. Bueno, primero que
Thank you.
todo quería
Well,
agradecer
first of all, I
la
wanted
invitación de
to
FAO a
thank you
poder
for the
comentarles cuál ha sido
invitation,
la experiencia del
and
Servicio
I
Agrícola
wanted
y
to tell you
Ganadero
how the
en
experience
relación
of
al
the
uso
SAG
del
has
sistema
been
InFARM.
related to the InFARM use.
Bueno, esta presentación tiene tres partes
So
principales. Yo
here
les voy
we
a
have
comentar
a
sobre el
presentation with
contexto
three
nacional de la
parts.
resistencia
I'm
a los
going to tell you about the
antimicrobianos en
national
Chile.
context of
Posteriormente,
the
Diego
resistance of
hablará
antimicrobials in
de
Chile.
InFARM,
Then Diego is going to
proceso de
talk
enrolamiento,
about
ingreso de datos,
InFARM, the
nuestra
enrolling
experiencia
and the
como país.
entering of
Y
information,
posteriormente
and our
hablaremos de los
experience as a
desafíos y
country,
las
and then we will
oportunidades que
talk
vemos
about
de
the
este
challenges and
sistema.
opportunities that we see
Para
here.
contextualizar,
So
contarles
to
de nuestro país,
contextualize, I wanted to tell you
Chile
about our
dispone de
country.
planes nacionales contra la
Chile
resistencia a los
has
antimicrobianos desde el
programs
año
for
2017,
resistance to
primera
antimicrobials
versión del plan,
with the
y
first version of
posteriormente el
the
año
plan. And
2021 al
after that, in
2025, se genera
2021 to
esta segunda versión
2025,
que con
we
este
generated the
concepto de
second
juntos una salud,
version that
es decir,
coins
involucra
this
tanto a la salud
together
humana,
for
animal
One
y ambiental
Health
bajo este concepto
motto.
de One
So
Health.
we put health and
Plan nacional
human health and animal
involucra
health
a
in
varios
just
ministerios
one
de nuestro
area.
país.
We involved several
De las distintas
ministries in
áreas está
this
el
work
Ministerio de
from the
Salud,
different areas.
está el
We have the
Ministerio de
Health
Economía,
Ministry,
Fomento y
we have
Turismo,
the
o
Economy
Pesca,
Ministry,
que es
the
la
Tourism
organización
Ministry.
encargada del control del
Pesca is
uso
the
de los
organization that is going
antimicrobianos
to
en
control the use
salmoicultura,
of
que en Chile
antimicrobials
es
and
una
salmon
gran
culture.
producción. Somos el
In
segundo
Chile, we
productor
have a
mundial de
big
salmones.
production of salmon. We're the
También
second
forma parte
most
de este plan
important
el Ministerio de
global
Agricultura a través
country
del
in
Servicio
production of
Agrícola y
salmon.
Ganadero,
We work
y
as well
Achipia,
with
que
the
es la
SAG
Agencia
and with
Chilena de Inocuidad
Chipia,
Alimentaria,
which
el
is the
Ministerio
agency
de
for
Medio Ambiente
food
también,
safety,
el
the
Ministerio
environmental
que tiene que ver con
ministry,
investigación en
and
Chile,
also the ministry that is
el
in charge
Ministerio de
of
Educación, como
research,
parte
the
de este
Ministry of
concepto
Education,
de Juntos
as
una
part of
Salud.
this
Y los
concept
5
of
objetivos
Together One
estratégicos
Health.
de este plan
So the
están
5
alineados también
objectives of this
con los
program
objetivos del
are
Plan Mundial
aligned
contra
to
la
the
Resistencia,
objective of the
que está
global
asociado a la
program
concientización y
in
formación,
terms of
donde
resistance that
cada
is
uno de
related
los
to
distintos
raising
participantes de este
awareness
plan
and to
nacional
gather
generamos
information.
actividades en relación al servicio
We
agrícola y ganadero,
carry out
hacemos
different
actividades de
activities with the
concientización y
SAG.
formación,
We raise
tanto en
awareness.
pregrado
We
como en posgrado,
provide
en la carrera de
training
medicina
in
veterinaria en distintas universidades
undergraduate
y
and in
también con médicos
postgraduate
veterinarios a
in
través de
many
distintos
universities, and
consorcios
also with
y colegios
veterinarians
médicos
through different
veterinarios.
consortiums
En relación a la
and
prevención y control
the
de infecciones, hay un
veterinarian
fuerte trabajo
school,
tanto en la
so
área
or the
humana como en el área
veterinarian
veterinaria.
organization.
En el área
We
veterinaria se
have
generaron este año
worked in the
manuales de
veterinarian
bioseguridad
area. We
para la
generated
industria de
manuals
aves y
for
cerdos.
biosecurity for
En
poultry
relación a
and pigs.
regulación y monitoreo del
In
uso,
monitoring
disponemos de
and
dos plataformas
use,
de
we
prescripción
have
electrónica
two
de
platforms
antimicrobianos en la
with
parte veterinaria,
an
uno
electronic
para animales terrestres y
prescription
una para
in
animales acuáticos,
antimicrobial. One
que nos
is for
permite conocer
terrestrial
cómo
and
se
the other
están
one is for
utilizando los
aquatic animals.
antimicrobianos a nivel
And
de la
that allows
población
us to
y
see
también
how
para
these
poder tomar
antimicrobials are being
medidas
used
estratégicas en
and how
relación a la
we
información que
can
disponemos. En
take
investigación e
some strategic
información, claramente
measurements
es
in
importante
this
que el país tenga
aspect.
desarrollo en
So it
estas
is
áreas para
important
poder
that the
tomar
country is
decisiones en
developed
base a la
in
ciencia.
these terms so that we can make
Y en relación
decisions
al
based on
último
science.
lineamiento de vigilancia
And in terms
integrada,
of the
de
last
vigilancia
guideline
de la
of
resistencia,
integrated
Chile genera
surveillance in
un
terms
piloto de
of
vigilancia
resistance,
integrada
Chile
de la cadena
has
alimentaria
a surveillance
asociado
program
a
that is
la
integrated in the food chain and that is associated to poultry. In this case, is for broilers.
relación a vigilar la resistencia a salmonella.
So we want to check the
Este piloto de
resistance to
vigilancia integrada
salmonella.
fue realizado gracias al
This
apoyo
pilot for
del
integrated
programa
surveillance
de
was
Trabajando
done
Juntos para
through
combatir la
the
resistencia a los
work
antimicrobianos de la
with
Unión Europea,
the
que
program
permitió
of
financiar esta
the
actividad. Se
European
trabajó en conjunto con el Ministerio de
agency.
Salud,
We work
TIPIA
together with the
ISP,
Ministry
Instituto
of
de Salud
Health at
Pública y también el
TIPIA
Servicio de Apicultura y
ISP
Ganadero.
and also the SAG.
Viendo el trabajo que hemos realizado a nivel
So
de la
looking at the
cadena
work
alimentaria,
that we have been
también
doing at the
participamos en
level of
actividades
food chain,
con la
we
FAO dentro de este
participated in
programa
different activities
Trabajando
of the
Juntos para
FAO
combatir la
in
resistencia a
this
los
program of
antimicrobianos
working
en
together
relación a
to
los
fight
alimentos medicados.
the
En
resistance
este
to
trabajo
antimicrobials.
también vimos
In
el
this
plan de
work,
acción
we also
de la
saw
FAO en
the
relación a la
action plan
resistencia a los
of the FAO
antimicrobianos,
in
que tiene
terms
pilares
of the
importantes como
antimicrobials. They
fortalecer la
have
gobernanza y
important
asignación
pillars,
de
for example,
recursos.
strengthening
Las primeras preguntas que
governance
Ángeles
and
realizaba, ¿cierto?,
resource
asociado
allocation.
a
The
cuáles
first
eran
question
las
that
brechas que
Maria de Los
teníamos o que
Angeles
veíamos
asked
importantes de
was
avanzar.
what
Estaba el tema de
were
la
the
gobernanza y
gaps
los
that we
recursos,
saw.
claramente.
We saw governance
Fortalecer
and
y
resources
fomentar
that
el
were
uso
there
responsable
very
de
clearly,
antimicrobianos. Fortalecer las buenas
fostering
prácticas,
the good
favorecer a
use
nivel
of
de la producción.
antimicrobials
Y ahí
and
también
also
la FAO
favoring good
tiene
production.
un programa que se llama
FAO has a
InFARM, y
program
nosotros
also
también
that
como
is called
país hemos
RenoFarm,
aplicado
and
medidas
as a
de
country,
bioseguridad, que
we
sumamente
have
importantes.
applied some
Estas buenas prácticas
biosecurity
para prevenir las
measure,
enfermedades de
and this is
infección
very
y
important
también la
to
propagación de
avoid
los
infection
microorganismos resistentes,
and the
aumentar la
propagation of
concientización y
different
participación
microorganisms.
y, como último punto, la
Reinforce
vigilancia e investigación.
participation
Y
and
en este punto de
also
vigilancia,
surveillance
la
and
FAO dispone de esta
investigation. And
plataforma
in this
InFARM para
point,
tener
FAO
la
has
información
InFarm
necesaria y
so
ya
that
todo lo que
we
comentaba
can gather all of the
anteriormente
information that is necessary. And as
Alejandro
I
sobre
said
la
before,
importancia
as
del
Alejandro
sistema.
said before,
Ahora continúa
about the
Diego
importance of the system. So
con
now we're going
la
to hear Diego with the next part.
plataforma InFARM y nuestra experiencia en la implementación.
And with our
Muchas
experience
gracias,
in the
Caro. ¿Se me
implementation.
escucha bien?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Perfecto.
Yes.
Súper. Bueno, el sistema InFARM como herramienta nos ha
Okay, so the
permitido dar un
InFARM
salto
system has
relevante en la
allowed
vigilancia de la
us to
resistencia a los
take an important
antimicrobianos.
leap
Nos ha
in
permitido
the
centralizar,
antimicrobial
recopilar el
resistance.
análisis y la
We have
visualización
been
de
able
datos
to
de
gather
RAM, tanto de los
information and to
programas monitoreados
centralize this
sistemáticos como de
information
estudios pilotos.
in RAM
Y lo
and also
interesante
in
de
pilot
InFARM es que su
programs. And
interfaz,
what is
además de ser
important in
segura y
InFARM is
privada,
that their
también permite que los
in
países,
their
si lo
interface,
desean,
apart
compartan
from being
ciertos datos
private and
públicamente,
secure,
facilitando la
it allows the
transferencia y
countries
la cooperación
to share
internacional.
information easily. So
Siguiente
that
imagen.
is very good for cooperation.
Otro aspecto central es que InFARM ofrece este
Another
marco
central
analítico
point is that
amplio que
InFARM
integra
has
datos de
this
animales
analytical
terrestres,
framework that
acuáticos y
integrates
alimentos
information from
y que incluso
terrestrial
puede complementarse
and
con información
aquatic
proveniente del
animals,
sector de
and
salud
that
humana.
can be
Y esta visión
complemented with
integral nos
information
permite
from the
trabajar bajo
human
el
health
enfoque de una
area.
sola salud,
So that allows us to
coordinando acciones
work under the
intersectoriales
umbrella
para
or
tomar decisiones
just
más
one
informadas y
health,
efectivas a
so
nivel
that we
nacional e
can
internacional.
make better decisions
Siguiente,
nationally
porfa.
and internationally.
Ahora, si uno desglosa el marco
Now,
de InFARM,
if
uno de los
we
principales
look at
beneficios
this
que nosotros hemos
carefully,
experimentado como SAC
InFARM,
al utilizar
what
esta herramienta
the biggest
ha
benefit
sido la
for
posibilidad
us
de ingresar datos
using
con distintos
InFARM
niveles de
has been
representatividad, gracias a
to be
estos
able to
módulos
enter
de ingreso de datos
information with
contextuales
different
que
representation
que vimos en la
levels.
sesión anterior.
This is related to what
Esto
we saw
significa que
before.
aunque en
So
Chile no contamos con
even
un
though
programa de
in
vigilancia
Chile
RAM
we do
totalmente
not
transversal y
have
representativo,
a
hemos
RAM
podido cargar
program that is
información
totally
proveniente de estudios
representative, we
pilotos,
have been able to
calificando
load
siempre el
information from
alcance y
pilot
las
programs
limitaciones de estos
that
datos.
qualify the different limitations of this
¿Se me escucha? ¿Hay
information.
alguien ahí que no?
Sí,
Sí,
Diego, por
Diego,
mi
yo te
parte al menos.
escucho.
Yes, we can hear
Súper.
you well.
Para dar un ejemplo concreto,
So,
tras el
to give
informe
you
de
a
vigilancia
concrete
integrada del Plan
example,
Nacional contra la RAM,
after
que
the
identifica a
program
salmonela
of
como
RAM
un
that
problema
identifies
transversal,
as that
implementamos
identifies
estudios
with
pilotos
salmonella as
centrándonos
an
en salmonela
overarching
para
program,
conocer
we
cuáles son los
focused
perfiles de
on
resistencia a
salmonella
los antimicrobianos de
to
los
get to
serotipos
know
más
what
relevantes.
were the
Y si bien
serotypes
estos estudios
that were more
son limitados
relevant.
en cobertura,
And these
InFARM
studies
nos
are
ha
limited
permitido
in
transformarlo en
coverage, but
información
InFARM has
estratégica
allowed us
para
to
comunicar estos
turn
hallazgos
the
a las
strategic
autoridades y sentar
information
bases para ir mejorando y
into
ampliar
certain bases to
gradualmente
be
la
able to
vigilancia en
increase
el país.
surveillance in the country.
Dale, Kat. Em, perdón. Nosotros tuvimos la capacitación de FAO el año
We
pasado
had the
en
training
Colombia.
of FAO in Colombia last year.
Y nosotros cuando una vez de vuelta en
And
Chile compartimos esta herramienta con
when we
distintos
returned to
involucrados de
Chile,
este mismo Plan
we
Nacional contra el
shared
RAM,
this
entre ellos
tool
con
with
Cernapesca, que es
other
la institución, como nos
institutions
lo
like
decía Carolina,
Cernapesca, which is
responsable de
the
la vigilancia
fishing
de resistencia
surveillance
de la resistencia a los
resistance agency
antimicrobianos en animales
uh,
acuáticos en Chile.
on aquatic animals
Y
in
ellos se
Chile.
enrolaron como punto
And
focal para
they
jugar en el sistema
registered or
InFARM, aunque
enrolled
aún no han
for
tenido la
the
oportunidad
InFARM
de
system,
subir los datos
although they
completos.
haven't
Para
had the
nosotros
opportunity to
nos permitió
upload the
también un gran
information
avance en la
completely. It
vinculación
allowed us
intersectorial entre el
to
sector pecuario y
between
acuícola.
the
Entonces, otra
agriculture
ventaja
and
clave de InFARM para Chile es que nos ha
agricultural
permitido
area. The
abordar
other advantage for
toda
InFARM
la
Chile
cadena
is
alimentaria
that it
como un
has
solo sistema,
allowed us to
que
have
incluye
the
no solo actividades
entire
propias del
food
SAC,
chain
como la vigilancia
system,
de animales
areas
terrestres
of
de producción,
surveillance of
sino también programas
like
de
SAG
vigilancia
of
de animales
production,
acuáticos y
but
la posibilidad
also
de incorporar
aquatic
datos de
surveillance,
diferentes tipos de
and to
laboratorios de diagnóstico
incorporate
veterinario.
data of other laboratories,
De esta forma,
veterinarian
InFARM ofrece una
laboratories. In
estructura
this
bien
form,
flexible que
InFARM
facilita la
is
integración de
very
información
flexible in
proveniente
integrating
de múltiples
information
fuentes y
of
etapas,
multiple sources
desde la producción primaria,
from
tanto
the
terrestre como acuática,
primary production,
pasando por
both
laboratorios
terrestrial
de
and
análisis y
aquatic, and
procesamiento de
also
alimentos hasta los
analysis
puntos finales de la
laboratories,
cadena alimentaria,
food systems, until the
lo que
end
amplía
of the
significativamente
food
nuestra
chain,
capacidad de vigilancia y
which
nos posiciona
allows
mucho
us
mejor
to
para detectar
surveil in
y
a more
responder a los desafíos de la
integrated
resistencia
manner
a los
and
antimicrobianos a lo largo de toda la
tackle
cadena.
the
En
aspects
definitiva,
that
el
are
sistema potencia
linked
la coordinación
to different
interinstitucional, el enfoque de una
microbial
salud
aspects.
y nos
So we
habilita para
have
crecer
one
progresivamente,
whole health
integrando nuevos
system.
actores
We
y
can
sectores
integrate
a
different
medida que
players
avanzamos en el
and different
desarrollo de la
sectors
vigilancia de la
as
RAM.
we progress in the process
Ahora sí, Carol,
of
la
the
siguiente, por
surveillance
favor.
system. Next one, please. Now,
En la fase inicial de nuestra
in the
participación
initial
en el
phase
InFARM,
of our
como país respondimos
participation
a
of
este
InFARM
cuestionario
as a
de
country,
vigilancia
we responded
y
to
subimos los
this
datos
surveillance
contextuales
data. We
de nuestros
uploaded
estudios piloto.
the data context.
Y para asegurar una gestión adecuada de los datos en esta
And
etapa
to
decidimos
have
enrolar
a
dos
good
puntos focales
process,
en la
we
plataforma,
entered
que somos
two
Carolina
focal
Marambio
points,
y yo, representando a
Carolina
ambos al SAC.
Marambio and myself, that
Por
represent
cierto, en el proceso
InFARM.
de carga
In the
de datos
process of
utilizamos,
uploading
como
data,
teníamos
we
identificados
utilized,
los
since we
aislados,
had
utilizamos el modelo
identified
A
and isolated the
de subida de datos
Model
para
A,
los datos de
we
resistencia,
uploaded the data of
que implica que los
resistance,
datos se suben de manera individualizada
which
para cada aislado
was
bacteriano,
that the data
lo que a su
is
vez nos permite
entered
un mayor detalle y
individually, which
precisión
allowed
en los
us to
análisis
have a
futuros.
more detailed
Em,
information
y
for
también creo
future
que es importante
analysis.
recalcar que
It is
dentro de la
also important
plataforma
to
también
underline that the
siempre se
platform
solicita o se puede
is
colocar el nivel de
always
representatividad de
requesting.
nuestros datos.
You
En
can
este caso, toda la
also
información corresponde a un
inform
estudio piloto
the
acotado
level of our
que quizás
data.
no
It
es tan
has,
representativo a nivel nacional,
maybe
pero que
it's
queda
not
explícitamente
representative for
documentado
the
en el
national
sistema.
level, but it is
Así, Chile puede
uploaded
hacer
as
su aporte inicial al
documents,
sistema
and
InFARM, sentando
Chile
bases para
can
futuras
then provide
contribuciones más amplias y
information
representativas.
for broader
Dale, Caro.
requirements for future resistance analysis in the
Em,
future.
Y otra de las grandes fortalezas de InFARM
Another
es
strength
que
of
nosotros hemos
InFARM
experimentado
that
directamente es
we
la
have
posibilidad de analizar los
experimented
datos
is the
cargados mediante
possibility
herramientas
of
automáticas
analyzing information
de
based
la propia
on
plataforma.
automatic
Esto
systems
nos ha
on the
facilitado la
platform.
generación
This
de
has
reportes claros
facilitated the
y actualizados
generation
que
of
pueden ser
very
rápidamente
clear,
presentados a las autoridades y tomadores
updated
de
data
decisiones,
to
tanto del
authorities
SAC como de
and
otros
decision
organismos.
makers,
Gracias
both
a
for
esta
SAG
funcionalidad, logramos
and for
transformar nuestros
other
resultados de
informations. And thanks
piloto
to this, we have
en
been
evidencia
able
concreta y
to
visual que sea
provide
útil para orientar
concrete
políticas
and visual
públicas,
information
fundamentar
for
necesidades de
public
recursos
policy
y
making,
comunicar la importancia de
to
avanzar hacia una vigilancia
communicate
más
the
robusta a nivel
significance
país.
of having a more
Y
robust
en
surveillance
síntesis,
system
InFARM no
at the
solo
national
almacena
level.
nuestros datos, sino que
InFARM
también
not
los
only
convierte en información
collects
estratégica de gran
information,
valor
but
para la
also
gestión y el diseño
becomes
de
strategic
futuras
data for
acciones frente al
future
desafío de la
activities or
resistencia a los
actions that
antimicrobianos.
need to be taken in the future.
Dale, por favor, Carolina.
Next.
Finalmente, para cerrar,
So
quisiera
finally, to
compartir algunos
conclude,
desafíos
I would like to
relevantes que
share some of
enfrentamos
the
a nivel nacional
challenges and
y como SAC en
opportunities
este
that we have
proceso.
at the national
Yo
level
creo que a nivel
as an
país
organization.
hemos avanzado
At
muy
the
bien en
national
cuanto
level,
hacia
we have
programas de vigilancia
progressed
integrada de
very
la RAM.
well as
Por
far
ello,
as an
quizá uno de los
integrated
principales desafíos es
surveillance
incorporar más
of
puntos focales, tanto
AMR.
del sector
We
público como
have
del sector privado,
been
para
able to
fortalecer la red y
incorporate
la
more
representatividad de los datos a
national
través de
focal
InFARM.
points, both at the
Y
public
desde el
and
SAC, el
private
gran reto
level. And from
en
the
el que estamos
SAG
trabajando es
standpoint,
consolidar y
as an
expandir la
agency,
vigilancia de la
we
RAM
are
en animales de
strengthening
producción y al
the
mismo tiempo seguir
AMR
avanzando,
surveillance on
como lo vemos
animals
haciendo
production
precisamente la
and
colaboración con el
incorporating
sector
the
privado y la academia,
collaboration of
lo que es esencial
private
para nosotros,
entities and
según
academia.
nuestro punto de vista,
It
para
is
potenciar el
from our
desarrollo y la calidad de
standpoint
nuestras
to
acciones y
strengthen and
finalmente
incorporating
fortalecer la gestión
and
sanitaria nacional que realizamos.
collecting and analyzing the
Y para
information.
eso,
And for
InFARM,
this,
con las
InFARM,
ventajas que
the
les he conversado, nos
advantages
abre
that
posibilidades
I
de
have
incorporar
mentioned, it
y
gives us
esperamos en
the
un futuro también poder
possibility, and
contar
we
con
hope in the
plataforma para
future
analizar,
also
como pongo ahí,
to
datos
have
genéticos y
a
genómicos de los
platform
patógenos
to enter
bajo la vigilancia, lo que enriquecerá
genetic
aún
and
más nuestras
genomic
capacidades de
data
análisis.
in to have a
Eh,
further
los avances han
analysis
sido
capacity.
muy importantes.
Progress have
Aún así
been
tenemos mucho por construir
fundamental.
y
We have a
perfeccionar,
great deal to
pero lo
build and
fundamental es que hoy
perfect,
existen
but what
herramientas
is
y marcos de
fundamental is
trabajo
that
como
today there are
InFARM que nos
tools
permiten ir
like
avanzando
InFARM
paso a
that
paso,
allow us to
integrando nuevos
step by
actores y ir
step
profundizando la
integrating different
vigilancia.
players
Así
and
que cada vez estamos mejor preparados para
specifying the
proteger la
surveillance. We're
sanidad
more
animal,
and more
salud pública
prepared
y también la
to
sustentabilidad de
deal
nuestros sistemas
with
productivos.
human health, animal health,
Agradezco
and
especialmente
other
a FAO
aspects.
por
I
todo
would
su
like to
apoyo y
thank FAO
liderazgo
for their
regional
enormous support
y a todos los colegas aquí
at the national and
presentes.
regional
Muchas
level,
gracias
and
también
for all
porque
colleagues that are here.
tenemos
Thank you very
la chance
much
de compartir
to all
y
because we're
aprender de
able
nuestras
to
experiencias.
share our knowledge
Muchas
and
gracias.
set forth our experience. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Carolina y Diego, por
Thank
esa
you,
presentación.
Carolina and
Sin
Diego,
duda
for this
tocan puntos muy
presentation. There is
importantes, ¿no?
no
Que
doubt
InFARM les
that you
permite a
are
los
setting
países
forth
poder incorporar
information that InFARM
datos con
allows
niveles,
countries to
distintos niveles de
incorporate
representatividad.
at
Ustedes
different levels
mencionaban
of
la de
representation. You
reportar datos
mentioned the
pilotos
possibility of
y
reporting
también países que
pilots
tengan niveles de
data in
inteligencia
other countries
más
that have
avanzados, que
surveillance
tengan ya
levels that are more
sistemáticas con representación
advanced
nacional,
and to
también
have
tienen esa
national
oportunidad.
representation,
Mencionaban
to
también
have that
cómo InFARM les ha ayudado a
that
ustedes a
importance. You have
organizarse
also
internamente
said
como país,
how
¿verdad?
InFARM has
Sin
allowed us
involucrar a las
to
distintas
organize yourself
instituciones, que
as
es
a
algo
nation,
que vemos que hace
which
muchísima
is something
dificultad
that
en
we
nuestra
see
región,
that
también a
is
nivel
very
global.
complex at the
Nuestros sistemas
regional and global
agroalimentarios son
level.
compuestos por
Our
distintas
agri-food
instituciones que
system
ven la
is
parte
made
de la
up by
sanidad, la
different
parte de
institutions
inocuidad,
that see
incluso los ministerios de
say
economía,
food
como en el caso de
safety.
Chile, también participan
In
en
the
los
case
sistemas
of Chile,
agroalimentarios. Entonces,
the agri-food system is also
es muy bonito de
represented by
nuestra parte
areas of
ver
economy. So it's
cómo
very
InFARM les
nice for
ha
us to see
contribuido y
how
apoyado
InFARM has
en este
contributed and
proceso
supported
y cómo ven ustedes
your
también la
nation,
necesidad de
and
incluirlos,
you
¿verdad?
see the
Que
incorporation of
todos participen de
including
manera
that
igualitaria de tal forma de que
different
los
areas
datos
that
y la
all
información que
participate,
ustedes
so
están
that data
recopilando
and
sea cada
information
vez
that
más
you are collecting
fortalecida y
provides
representativa de la
you
realidad
the
nacional.
strengthening
Y,
of
y
information
también
at the
con mucho
national
gusto vemos
level. And we're also
cómo
delighted to see
la visualización de los datos y
how
los
the
análisis les han
visualization of
permitido a ustedes
data and
mostrar
analysis has
qué es lo que está
allowed you
pasando en
to
Chile
show what is
y
occurring
hacer
in
abrir los
Chile
ojos a los
and
tomadores de
to
decisiones que muchas veces
open the eyes of
es
decision
difícil,
makers
¿verdad? Así
that
que muchísimas
sometimes
gracias
is
por esta
difficult. So thank
presentación
you very much for
y
your
aquí seguimos
presentation.
adelante con
And we
ustedes y
will
bueno, con toda la
continue
región
with
para
you
apoyarles
and with
en
the
la
entire
participación de
region
INFARM y seguir
to
fortaleciendo
ensure that
el
InFarm
sistema. Así que
continues
muchas
to
gracias
strengthen the
nuevamente.
system. Thank you very much once again.
Y bueno, para continuar, vamos a
Well,
darle
to
entonces ahora la
continue,
palabra
we
a
are now going
Bolivia.
to
En
open the
representación
floor
de
to
Bolivia
Bolivia
tenemos
in
a
representation of
Carolina
Bolivia.
Tejerina,
We
que
have
nos acompaña
Carolina
hoy. Ella
Tejerina,
se desempeña
who
como
is with us
profesional de
today.
vigilancia y
She's the
control de residuos y
professional of
contaminantes en alimentos
surveillance
de SENASAC.
of contamination
Y
of
también ella ha
SANASAG,
estado participando
and
aquí
she's also
arduamente en la
been
implementación de
arduously
INFARM a nivel nacional. Así
participating
que,
in
Carolina, yo te doy
InFarm
la palabra.
at the domestic
Voy
level.
a compartir tu presentación.
I would like to share your
Un
presentation.
segundo. Un segundito. Acá. Ahí tú me comentas si se ve adecuadamente.
Ya se ve.
Perdón. Voy aquí. Ahora sí.
Bien. Buen día, estimados todos.
Morning, all of you.
Muchísimas gracias por darnos la
Thank you very
oportunidad
much for
de
giving
poder
us the
compartir
opportunity
nuestra experiencia
to
como
be
país.
able to share
Es
our
muy
experience
distinta a la
as
de
a
Chile,
nation.
pero sí tenemos algo que
The
compartir y con
experience is
seguridad a
different
muchos
of
les
that
va a
of
ser de
Chile, and
mucha
we're happy to
utilidad.
be able to share.
Empezamos, estimada Ángeles. Bien, mencionarles de manera inicial que como país no tenemos una estructura
As a
de
nation,
plan de muestreo como tal para vigilar la resistencia a los antimicrobianos. Sin embargo, la práctica que actualmente se realiza es a través de
however,
la
the
vigilancia
practice that we
pasiva,
carry out
no a
is a
través
passive
de la
surveillance,
información que
not
obtenemos de
through
los animales
the information
enfermos,
that we have of animals
de los muestreos en animales enfermos
and of the
que son sometidos a
samples
los diferentes análisis
that are
microbiológicos
submitted
y
to
posteriormente al
different
antibiólogo para poder
analysis
implementar el tratamiento antibiótico con
for
antibióticos de
the
manera
antibiotic.
específica. La que sigue, estimada Ángeles. De igual manera, para el tema de la
In the
vigilancia
same
renal
manner,
en
as
alimentos,
far
específicamente
as
microorganismos
the
patógenos aislados en alimentos,
AMR,
hemos venido
we have
implementando esta área
been
analítica en
implementing
el laboratorio de alimentos
in
a
our
partir de la
food
gestión de
laboratory through the
2019, justo para
management
poder responder a estos requerimientos
to respond to the requirements
de
of
llamado
this
mundial para contener la resistencia a los
world
antimicrobianos
call
y poder ir generando la
and
evidencia
to
en
be
nuestro
able
sector
to set
para
forth the
que llamemos la
evidence in
atención
our
también de
sector
nuestras
so that we
autoridades.
can
Es
also
así que a partir de
call
la gestión
upon the
2019
awareness of
se
our
implementó el
authorities.
área
So we implemented
específica,
the
bueno,
specific
la
area,
metodología de análisis
a
en el área de
methodology of
alimentos para poder
analysis
hacer el
in the area
antibiograma de los
of food,
microorganismos patógenos aislados en alimentos, en donde de
and
manera inicial,
where
como nuestro afán era generar información y evidencia científica, entonces todo patógeno que se aislaba en los
all the
alimentos, inclusive
pathogens,
agua, harinas,
water,
golosinas y
flowers
demás, entonces
of
eran sometidos a esta investigación.
sweet
Sin
products
embargo, bueno,
have
no
been
es
done, have been
información
analyzed. It is not
que nos
information
sirve, ¿no? Sin embargo,
that is
con el tema de
useful given
de ser parte con la inscripción para
the
ser parte de la
that it is part
plataforma
of this
InFARM, hemos
registration.
podido
We
ordenar
have been able
la
to
generación de esta información
organize the
para poder
generation of this
ir a
information
la generación de
in order
información mucho más
to
específica desde el punto de
generate
vista de
specific
poder
information
en algún momento lograr
in
la
order
vigilancia integrada, ¿no?
to
Que en el caso de Bolivia tenemos una
achieve a
particularidad que donde el servicio sanitario,
comprehensive
el Servicio de
surveillance.
Sanidad Agropecuaria
The
y Nutrición
Sanitary
Alimentaria
and
abarca desde la
Agricultural and
producción
Livestock
primaria,
Agency
agrícola, pecuaria,
has a primary area
y también la producción de
and the
peces, de agua
production
dulce y
of
también la industria de
sweetwater
alimentos.
fish
Entonces,
and the
está bajo esta
industry
misma
of
institución,
food. It is
todas
part of the
estas
same
instancias
institution
que tienen el control de toda la
which
cadena
has the
alimentaria.
control of the
Entonces,
entire food
tendríamos de
chain.
alguna manera una ventaja
We
para
would
poder
have an
fortalecer
advantage
esta
to
coordinación desde la producción
strengthen
primaria
the
hasta tener el
coordination from the
alimento
primary
preenvasado
production
listo para la
to have the
comercialización.
pre
Entonces, al ser parte de la plataforma InFARM,
packaged
nos
food.
ha
So from
ayudado de
this
sobremanera
standpoint,
a identificar de manera
we have been
específica
able to
cómo
specifically
tenemos que ordenar
identify
esta
how
vigilancia
we
para
have to
cuando podamos
organize
iniciar la vigilancia activa.
surveillance
Porque por
when we're
ahora
ready to
la
have an active
vigilancia es
surveillance
aún
process. Right now,
pasiva,
surveillance
porque estamos
is
haciendo la,
very
la
passive
investigación de
because
la
we're
RAM o la
doing the
identificación de RAM
research
en
with
los
AMR
microorganismos que se van
in
aislando en los distintos alimentos
microorganisms
que ingresan a
by
nuestros laboratorios
isolating the
para
different
responder a
foods
trámites de
to
registro,
respond
renovación,
to
adición
different
de
registration,
alimentos
renovation
procesados
of
o
processed
importados
foods
también.
or
La que
imported
sigue, Ángeles, por
foods.
favor. Bien, con esta primera experiencia,
So with this
siendo
first
parte ya
experience,
de la
being a
plataforma
part
InFARM,
of
hemos
this
podido la gestión
InFAR
pasada
platform,
subir información de la
we have been
vigilancia
able to
pasiva en sanidad
upload
animal y
information
de alimentos también. Sin
for
embargo,
animals
una de las
and food.
cualidades muy
However,
importantes también
part
de la
of the
plataforma es
important
de que
aspects of this
no nos
platform
permite subir
is
información que no sea
allows us
acorde
to
al
upload
propósito de esta
information
plataforma,
that is not
de tal
responding
manera de
to
que
the specifics. That
automáticamente no va
way,
discriminando la
it
información.
discriminates
Eso es
the
algo que
information,
quiero
and this is
resaltar.
something that
Y
is
es
very
así que cuando
positive.
subimos la
And
información,
from that
bueno, pues nos
standpoint,
quedamos
when
con
we
pocos
upload the
datos válidos
information,
para poder ser
we
parte de
are
esta primera
validated
experiencia, porque de manera
in
inicial, como
this
les
first experience
comentaba,
because, as I said before,
los aislamientos de
the
microorganismos también se
isolation of
realizan
microorganisms is carried
en agua
out
potable, ¿no? Que es un
in
análisis que se realiza de manera
drinking
regular
water
y prioritaria para
environments,
cualquier registro
and it
sanitario
is
de
a
una industria de
priority for
alimentos.
all the
Es así que
sanitary
en el
processes
análisis de agua
of
regularmente se aislaba
food
E. coli y
industry.
pseudomonas
So we have
aeruginosa,
E.
que también fue
coli
sometido
and other
al antibiograma. Sin
microorganisms
embargo,
that were
esta información
analyzed.
no era válida
However,
para
this
el formato
information
actual
was not
de la
valid
plataforma
for
InFARM.
the
Entonces ahí nos
current
quedamos con
InFARM
datos
platform. So we had
reducidos
data
que
there
están
that
específicos
was
en el caso de
reduced
alimentos
in that which
para
relates to
alimentos de
food
origen
products
pecuario de manera
and
principal,
those
¿no?
that are
Carne
linked
bovina, de cerdo,
to
de
pork,
ave,
to
derivados cárnicos, por
broilers,
embutidos y también
animal processed
lácteos y
food
sus derivados.
products,
Entonces, sin embargo, bueno, nos hemos quedado con
pigs,
información reducida
cattle, So we
Y
have
estas son las
a
gráficas
reduced
que se
amount of
pueden
information, and these are the
visualizar, ¿no?
graphics that you can visualize.
Solamente a manera de ejemplo,
This is just
lo
as an
único malo es que
example.
los datos son
The only
reducidos
problem
y
we
no
have is as the
podemos
data
tomar
that we have
decisiones
is very reduced.
con
We
estos
cannot
datos. En
make decisions
esta
based on this
diapositiva,
amount of data.
la gráfica
This
que
is a
nos muestra
positive
es
aspect.
acerca
The
del número de
graphic that you see is
aislamientos
the
que hemos realizado.
number of
En esta
isolations
oportunidad
that
se
we've
puede
been
mostrar
able to
Escherichia
achieve.
coli, Staphylococcus
Here
aureus y
we have
Streptococcus. Para el
coli
caso de Escherichia
and
coli, como se ve,
E. coli
o sea, es los mayores aislamientos,
is the
pero en este
highest
caso, como
amount
está
of
de ambos
isolations that we have been able to
sectores
achieve
o de
in
ambos
both sectors,
sectores productivos, como es el pecuario
productive
y de la
sectors,
industria,
such as
y
the
además que nos hemos tenido
industry
que quedar solamente con
and
Escherichia coli por
in
este nivel de
area of cattle.
discriminación que tiene
We've only been
el
able to
sistema y
do
para
E.
que pueda
coli
ser
because
válida
of the
nuestra información, pues nos
discrimination that
quedamos
the
solamente
platform presents. So
con E.
we're
coli, ¿no?
only
En el caso
with
de
E.
alimentos.
coli
Así
in the
es que
case
esos
of
datos han
food
ido
products.
a
These
incrementar los
have
datos de
been
aislamientos de coli sumados al
that
de las
are
muestras de
added
origen
to
de
the
animales
samples of
enfermos.
origin
¿La que
and
sigue, por favor?
other products.
Esta es otra de las gráficas que
This
muestra el número de
is
aislamientos también
the
de la RAM.
other
Y como pueden ver,
isolations of
esto es en
AMR.
base
This is
al origen
based
de las muestras. Entonces,
on
como se
these
fijan,
samples.
aquí está
So as you can
de
see,
diferentes colores por tipo de
different
muestras
colors and
y
different
respalda lo
samples.
que les decía de la
And
anterior
it is
diapositiva.
supported
Para el
by what I
coli se
said
suma
previously.
todos
For E.
los
coli, you have
aislamientos
all
porque
the
para el
different
caso de
isolations
alimentos
of the different specimens.
nos hemos quedado
Uh,
solamente con el
we have
aislamiento
only
de
been able
E.
to
coli.
respond to E.
La que
coli in
sigue.
this case.
Bien, otro dato importante que también nos mostraba
Another important information
es
that
este
Chile
tipo de
showed
gráficos en donde
was this
se
type
muestran las
of graphs
preocupaciones de la RAM
where we
que
can
permite
see the RAM
bueno,
surveillance,
elaborar informes
and
a
that
diferente
allows to
nivel, ¿no?
elaborate
Así como
reports
nos
at
los
different
mostraban
levels,
aquí. Solo que en
as
nuestro
we have
caso
done it
no
in
hemos
Chile,
podido
as they have done it in Chile. So just that
presentar
in
esta
our case,
información
we haven't been
porque
able
los
to
datos eran
present this information
insuficientes, así
because
es
the
que la
information was
información que
not
presentamos
sufficient.
a nuestras
So the
autoridades
information that we
es
show to our
distinta
authorities
a
is
esa, ¿no?
from
Simplemente
a
es esa
different nature,
referencia a nivel de
and
ejemplo
it's
de estos
not
datos que se han ido
just
ya
related to this
mencionando
information that has
o
been
generando
mentioned
a través
before,
de estos datos que
or
hemos
that has been
podido subir a
generated
la
through
plataforma
this information we
InFARM.
have been able to
La que sigue, por favor.
upload to the platform.
Bien, este es otro de los gráficos
Okay,
que
so this is
también
another of the
genera la
graphs
plataforma InFARM,
that are generated by the InFARM
que nos
platform
muestra en este caso
that
datos de
show
la
us in
gestión
this case
2023
information of the management
2024,
2023,
pero
2024,
estos datos de la gestión
but
2023
this
y
information
2024
of
se refiere a la información
2023-2024
subida,
is
los
related to
datos
the
de 2023
information
eran de alimentos
of
y
2023
del
that was from
2024
food,
era de
and
muestras de
2024
origen
was
de
in
animales enfermos.
samples
Pues
of
ahí más bien quería
sick
hacer
animals.
un
So
comentario o consulta
this is just
a los
related to a comment
expertos de
or
la FAO
to
que
a
están
consultation, a
administrando la
question to the
plataforma
FAO
desde el punto
people
de
that are
vista si se
managing this
puede
platform.
realizar
From the point of
la
view, if it's
separación o
necessary or if it's
discriminación
possible
de la
to make a
información
separation or a discrimination of the
en cuanto a
information
las muestras
in terms of the
de los animales
samples
enfermos y
of
las
the
alimentos.
diseased
En
animals
este caso
and
podríamos
foods.
hacer
So
más la información,
if
entonces,
we put the information just
bueno,
as it
es
is,
información junta, ¿no?
then this is information that
De
is
ambos orígenes y que en algún momento
coming from
podría
different origins, and that at some
provocarse alguna
point
mala
it
interpretación
could
del gráfico
cause a
como tal.
misinterpretation of the graph
Eso
as such.
como consulta lo dejo, que seguramente posteriormente nos los van a aclarar. Creo que sí.
So I hope that this gets clarified.
Bien. Es
Okay,
importante mencionar
so
la
it is
importancia de
important
los
to
datos para la toma de
mention the
decisiones.
importance of
Y
the
para
decision-making
esto,
process, and for this,
he hecho una ayuda a memoria ahí para que podamos hablar de todos estos
I would like
factores
to
que
talk about
influyen en
these
la
different
generación de
factors that
datos
have
y posteriormente cuán
influenced the
importante
generation
son
of
los datos para la toma de
information and
decisiones.
how relevant this is for
Un
the
momento más,
decision-making process.
Ángeles, por favor. En cuanto a los planes de muestreo,
In
estos planes
terms
de
of the
muestreo deben ser
sampling
sólidos.
this sampling
mencionado,
has
nosotros
to
no
be
contamos
solid.
actualmente con un
As I
tanque
said
rastreo.
before, we do
Por esta
not have
razón
a
nos hemos
sampling
limitado
process
a lo
right
que es
now, and
solamente
that's
esos
why
datos
we
mínimos sobre los
have
cuales
obtained
podemos
this
tomar
minimum
decisiones.
information
Entonces, en
that we
cuanto a los
cannot
planes de
make
muestreo,
decisions on.
a
So
través
in
de
terms
todas
of
estas
the sampling,
debilidades que hemos
through this,
identificado,
all of these
hemos
weaknesses
hecho
that we have
uso de estas
identified,
oportunidades de
we
mejora para
have used these
identificarlas
improvement
y de manera
opportunities that have been
satisfactoria hacer
identified
parte del
and in a
proyecto CETE con la
satisfactory way
FAO.
so that
Entonces,
we
hemos
are
podido
part of the
trabajar en
project
la
with the FAO. We
elaboración de
have
un
been able
documento del
to
plan de muestreo para
participate
la
in the
aplicación del
elaboration
RAM
of the
en animales vivos.
sampling for the
Y
RAM
esto
in
se ha trabajado de la mano de los
animals
expertos de
and
la FAO y
worms, and this
el Área
has been
Nacional de
worked
Epidemiología de
with the
Salubridad
FAO
Animal
and with the
para que este
epidemiology
documento sea
department,
lo
so that
suficientemente
this
sólido
document
y
is
además pueda
solid
ser
enough
aplicado
and can
a las
also
tres
be
especies
applied
principales como
to the
las
three main
que se producen
species
en Bolivia, ¿no? Como
that
es
are
aves,
produced in Bolivia. For example,
bovinos y cerdos.
poultry
La
and
que sigue.
bovines and
En
pigs.
cuanto a los muestreos, estos muestreos
In
tienen que
terms of
ser
the
correctamente
sampling
realizados.
needs to
Dentro
be
de este
done
proceso que
correctly.
tenemos
In
para la
this process
implementación de este
that
plan
we
de
have
muestreo,
for the implementation of the
se
sampling
tiene
process,
previsto
we
ejecutar en este
have
mes la
foreseen to
validación de la
execute
toma de
here
masa in situ.
the
Esto
validation
para poder
of the in
identificar
situ sample,
algunas posibles
and this
debilidades y riesgos de
is to
contaminación
identify the risks of
en algunos casos de la
contamination,
muestra y en otros casos
in some
evitar la
cases of the sample, and in
contaminación
some other cases to
en los
avoid
predios
the
productores,
contamination
tomando en
in
cuenta
the
de que el
producing
muestreo sea previsto
areas. So
los
the
predios
sampling could be
productores de
done
animales vivos
in
y en
the
los
different
establecimientos de
farms
faena.
and
Entonces,
also
esta etapa
in
es
the other
fundamental para poder
establishments
asegurar
and the
también la
other
calidad de la muestra a
places.
obtener y se
That is
pueda
to be
hacer
able
un
to ensure
aislamiento
the
de
quality of the
microorganismos de
sampling
manera
and
correcta.
to isolate the
La siguiente.
microorganism.
En cuanto al aseguramiento de la calidad del análisis en el laboratorio,
Now, the
también
quality
por
of
el
analysis in
apoyo
the
del
lab,
proyecto ACT-FAO,
also with the
el
support
laboratorio ha
of
sido
FAO, the lab
fortalecido
has
desde el
been
punto de vista en
strengthened
el que se
from
han
the point of view
intensificado
of
las
how
actividades de
the
actualización de
activities have
conocimientos para
been
los técnicos que
intensified
realizan los
for
distintos análisis de
the
laboratorio.
chemicals that
Se ha
are the
implementado la
chemists that are
participación en
doing the
pruebas
sampling.
de
We
evaluación
have increased
externa
the
de la calidad.
participation of
Este
external
aspecto
assessment
antes
of
no se
quality. This
realizaba, se lo
aspect
realizaba de
was
manera
not carried out before,
muy
or it was carried
mínima,
out in
¿no?
a
Entonces,
minimum
a través
way.
del proyecto se ha logrado
We
prever
have
la
been able to
participación en estas
foresee
pruebas de
the
evaluación
participation
externa.
in this
En este año ya
external
sería nuestra segunda
evaluation. In
adquisición que
this year,
estaríamos
this would be our
participando como
second
laboratorio
management
oficial
that we
del
could
servicio sanitario en
be
estas pruebas de
participating
evaluación y de
in
manera
this
satisfactoria con
assessment
calificaciones
part,
óptimas.
and
De igual manera,
with
la adquisición de
optimum
insumos para asegurar la
qualifications.
calidad del análisis,
We also want to ensure
como
the
ha sido el
quality of
caso de la
analysis, as it
mejora que se
has been the
realizó
case
en poder
of
hacer
the
uso de
improvement
las
that
cepas
we did,
certificadas correctas para realizar los
and in
antimicrobianos.
the correct
Porque inicialmente, si
antimicrobial
bien se hacía uso de estas cepas
organization. We
de
would
referencia,
use this
pero se
reference
identificó
samples, but
ciertos
we
errores
identified
que se
certain
pudieron
mistakes
visualizar con el
that
apoyo del
could be
experto en laboratorios
visualized with the
con la que se
expert
cuenta de la FAO
on
y se han
clinical
realizado
labs
las
that we
mejoras
have
correspondientes, de
from the
tal
FAO, and
manera
we
que a la
have
fecha
made the improvements
estaríamos
that
ya
were
casi en
necessary.
una
So up
etapa
to date,
final,
we would
inclusive
be in
con la
a final
posibilidad
stage,
de
even with the
lograr una
possibility
acreditación
of
del método de análisis
achieving a
para realizar el
certification
antibiótico.
for the method of
Informes de
analysis.
resultados confiables es otro aspecto
Report of
importante
reliable
para asegurar los
information.
datos confiables. Un clic más, por favor, Ángeles. Entonces, a través de todos estos pasos previos vamos a
So
poder
through
lograr
all of these
resultados
previous steps, we are
altamente
going to be
confiables
able to
sobre
get
los
very
cuales
reliable information.
las autoridades de control,
And the
en el caso de
authorities of
sanidad
control in the
animal
case
de
of
inocuidad alimentaria,
health
vamos a
and
poder
human
tomar
health and food
decisiones
safety, we are
para
going to be able to
implementar
make
acciones
decisions so that we
correctivas
can
o
implement
preventivas
corrective
y en
actions or
algún
preventive
caso
actions.
inclusive
And in some
poder
cases, even we
realizar algún
could
tipo de diferenciación en
have
cuanto a la
some kind of
responsabilidad
differentiation in
de la
terms of the
generación de la resistencia a
responsibility
los
of the
antimicrobianos. Como
generation of
sabemos,
antimicrobials.
la
So
mayor cantidad de
as we
antimicrobianos que se
know,
utilizan en
the
la
biggest
FAO
amount of
está
antimicrobials
centralizado
that
en
are
la
used in the
producción
world
animal,
are
pero
centralized
eso no
in
significa que
animal
sea porque están
production, but that does
haciendo
not mean
todos
that
un uso
they are all
indiscriminado e
doing
and discriminated and incorrect use of antimicrobials, but because of the animal production, which is to produce food as well. But now, when we see salmonella in animal food, what we need is to know that salmonella comes in the animal, and there are different serotypes, and not all of them come from the animal. So the fact of having this highly reliable information is going to allow us to make this differentiation in this way. Well, and finally, in terms of achievements, we consider an achievement the experience that we have had with InFARM, the elaboration of the sampling plan for the RAM surveillance in the healthy living animals, the strengthening of the analytical capacity as well of the lab. It is impossible to go back here. This needs to continue, and we need to make it bigger and bigger according to the needs that we are identifying. As challenges, we have the implementation of the sampling plan and maintaining that in time to be able to continue with the surveillance in foods. So in terms of the challenge, this work of the elaboration of the sampling plan and its implementation is going to be worked with the private sector through the Committee of Contention of the resistance to antimicrobials. We can say satisfactory that this has been a work team that is highly committed, and that there are some concerns in terms of finding something that could be very negative, maybe. However, we are going step by step to be able to continue in this work. Up to now, we have not gone back, and probably at some moment we could, because of this concerns and this acceptability that we have in this sector, but we're still advancing. So our challenge is going to be to implement this sampling plan and to maintain it in time. The learning. Well, the learning is the coordination that we need to have between different parts of the productive chain, and not just I'm referring to the private sector, but also to the inside of the organization. As we are composed of several areas, several units, we have the national unit of food safety, of labs. So each one of us sometimes lives in their own responsibility. However, this work that we have done in a coordinated way between food safety and the lab, there was a point where we have to go deep in the labs and also go deep in the origin of this sample, so that they can understand the importance of the work that is done in the field. So we have been able to coordinate in a better way and also strengthen this coordination, because it's also going to be organized more closely. So we want to maintain this organization, and that has to be more profound. So that's it from us, from our experience. In comparison to Chile, this is, well, a very different experience. We have a lot to learn from Chile, and we are learning from them because they have shared some experiences with us in the work that we have been developing in our committee to contain resistance in agriculture and in food. And also there are some other aspects that are not part of InFARM, and this is going to be good to be able to be part of this informatic area.
sin tenerla
Having a
igual
basis
es
or
muy
without having a
útil para que
basis
vayamos
is
avanzando en
something that
este
is very
proceso
useful to
para
be able
contener
to
la
advance
resistencia.
in this
Gracias,
process
estimados, por
and
su
to
tiempo.
contain the resistance. Thank you very much,
Muchísimas
everyone.
gracias, Carolina, por esa
Thank
presentación,
you, Carolina,
por
for this
participar y compartir la
presentation
experiencia de Bolivia.
and for
Nos muestras esta
sharing
mirada
the
del sistema,
information of
¿no? De que no
Bolivia.
son datos por
You
datos,
show us
sino que hay que
this
tener la
system
precaución
outlook.
y el
It's
cuidado
not
de
just
analizar
data
cada una de las
for the
etapas
sake of it.
en la
We want
vigilancia de la
to
resistencia a los antimicrobianos,
also
es decir, cómo
see that this
diseñamos
is
el centro de
related to the
vigilancia,
resistance of
cómo implementamos
antimicrobials,
planes de
how
muestreo,
we
cómo están trabajando los
implement the
laboratorios y
sampling,
la importancia de
how
la
we
calidad
are
dentro de los
working with the
laboratorios
labs, the
para
importance of
generar
quality,
información
to be able to
que
generate
sea
information
real,
that
¿verdad?
is
Verídica
real
y que
and
demuestre a
that
nuestros tomadores de
can
decisiones
show
cuál
to
es
our
la situación
decision
nacional.
makers
Resaltas
what is the
también
national
la importancia de
situation.
esta coordinación
And this is
estrecha
also related to
dentro de la
this
institución. Como caso
close
especial de
um,
Bolivia, tenemos que SENASAC es el
collaboration. In the
encargado de la
case
cadena
of
completa,
Bolivia, SENASAC is
pero
the one
también
that is in
muestras la
charge of the whole
importancia,
chain.
resaltas la
But this also
importancia de
shows
involucrar al
the
sector privado en el
importance of
proceso,
involving the private
especialmente
sector
ahora de
in
vigilancia de la
this
resistencia a los
process,
antimicrobianos y cómo han
mainly
ido
in the
trabajando de la
antimicrobial
mano y
resistance part,
asegurándose de que
and
cada
how
paso
they
que
have
dan
been working together,
está
making
bajo un
sure that
acuerdo y eso
each
sin
step
duda les va a
you
permitir a
take is
ustedes
under
lograr
the
una
agreement,
sostenibilidad
and that is
en
going
las
to
acciones que se
allow for you to
planteen
be sustainable
como
in the
comité
actions that
asesor.
are
Han sido muy testigos
taken.
de los grandes logros
I have
que han
been a witness
alcanzado
of
en
the
este
big
último tiempo.
achievements
Así
that you
que,
have
y
had in
también
this
resaltar
last time.
lo que
And
mencionabas de
also
la
in highlighting
importancia,
what you were
y por eso
saying
también nos gustan estos
in terms
espacios
of the
regionales de que
resistance.
puedan
That's
compartir
why we
experiencia
like
entre
these regional
países, puedan tomar
spaces. You
contacto entre
can
países,
share
conocer
the
qué es lo que está
experience
pasando
amongst the
en distintas
countries
partes de
and
la
you
región
can know what
para
is going on in
que
different
después a través de un
parts
simple
of the
WhatsApp
region so
se
that
puedan
through a
comunicar y
simple
puedan
WhatsApp
resolver algunas dudas
afterwards you
en
can
especial
communicate and you
que
can
necesitan ser
solve some
conversadas. Así que
questions.
muchísimas gracias, Carolina, por
So
esta
thank you very
presentación.
much, Carolina, for that great
Y bueno,
presentation.
estamos llegando casi al
And
final, nos
well,
quedan
we
muy
are
pocos
getting to
minutos. Ha
the
sido una
end.
sesión muy provechosa,
It's
hemos
been
visto
a
un
very
poco de todo.
fruitful
Hay
session. We
muchísima
have seen a little bit
información.
of everything. There's a lot
Seguramente hay
of
muchísimas
information
dudas. Yo
here.
quisiera dar la
Maybe there
palabra y
are a lot
escucharlos
of
a ustedes
questions.
más
I
que
would
en el
like to
chat.
hear
Alguien
you. I would
quisiera
like to give
tomar
you the floor.
un
If
minuto,
anybody
dos
wants to
minutos
take a minute, two
realizar
minutes,
alguna pregunta. Carolina tenía
to
una
ask a
pregunta y
question.
Alejandra, si te
Carolina
puedes
had a
responder
question herself, so
mientras alguien se
um,
anima a levantar la mano
Alejandra, if you want
y
to
hacer alguna
answer
otra
while
consulta.
somebody raises their
Ella
hand
preguntaba sobre
and
si se
asks
puede
another
realizar la
question. She was
separación de
asking if
información de
you can
datos
make the
en cuanto a las
separation
muestras de
of
alimentos, o sea, de
information in
muestras de
terms of the
alimentos
food
de
samples
animales enfermos en el
and
sistema de
the
InFARM.
deceased
Mientras
animals
alguien se anima,
in the InFARM
Sí. Muchas gracias, Ángeles.
platform.
Bueno, y muchas gracias,
Thank
colegas,
you
por
very
la
much,
presentación.
Angeles, and
De
thank you
verdad
very
que nos hace
much,
muy felices
colleagues,
ver,
for your
ver
presentations.
cómo el
It's very
sistema
nice to
puede
see
ayudar
how the
tanto a países un
system
poco más avanzados,
can
menos avanzados,
help more
también a
advanced countries and
identificar
less advanced
brechas en la
countries to
implementación. En
identify
el caso
gaps
específico de Bolivia,
in
yo
the
creo que también ha
implementation. In the
sido
specific case of
muy
Bolivia,
interesante ver
this has
cómo esto ha
been very
incitado a
good. It has
comenzar a
been great to
desarrollar este
see
programa de vigilancia
how
activa
we have been
en
able
animales sanos.
to have this
Pero en
active
cuanto a tu pregunta,
surveillance
Carolina,
in
es
healthy
completamente
animals.
posible.
But your
Lo que se
question,
puede hacer
Carolina,
a
is
través del
totally
sistema
possible.
InFARM,
What we can
a
do is
través de
that
las
in the
visualizaciones
InFARM
interactivas, es aplicar
program,
filtros.
through the interactive
Los
vision,
filtros
we can
permiten
apply
filtrar la
filters, and these
información
filters are going
por
to allow us
año,
to
por
filter
nivel de
out
ingresos de los
information by
países,
year,
por
by
programa de
level of income
vigilancia,
of the countries, program of
especímenes,
surveillance,
microorganismos,
specimens,
diferentes tipos de alimentos.
microorganisms,
En este
different
caso, uno
types
de los
of
atributos es
attributes.
el
In this
programa de
case, one of the
vigilancia
attributes is
y
the
si tienes, por
surveillance
ejemplo,
system. And
Escherichia
if you
coli
have,
muestras de
for
animales
example, E.
sanos y
coli
enfermos, puedes
and
separarlo
samples of
perfectamente en
sick
cuanto a las
animals and
visualizaciones.
healthy animals, you can
Es cierto
separate
que
that in the
cuando la
visualizations.
información es
It is
limitada,
true that when the information is
generalmente
limited,
recomendamos a los países
generally what
participar a
we
nivel
recommend is
1
that
de
the countries
confidencialidad
participate at
o
level
se pueden
1 of
participar a nivel 3, pero en
confidentiality,
muchos casos
or they can
esos datos
participate
no
at
van a
level
ser
3, but this
agregados
information is not
a
going to
nivel
be aggregated
regional o a nivel
at a
global.
regional
Los
level
datos que
or
vamos
at a
a
global level.
utilizar
What
casi
we are
siempre
going to be
para hacer
using
estimaciones a nivel regional
almost
o a nivel
always
global
to be
van a ser
making
datos que más o
estimations
menos den una
are
visión
information that are going to
y que
give
puedan dar
us a
una
vision
representación de lo que está sucediendo a
that
nivel nacional.
can
Pero
represent
es
what
una
is
manera
going
muy
on at
buena
a
de
national
comenzar
level. But it is a good
a
way to
familiarizarse con el
start
sistema,
to
introducir
get
información,
familiarized with the
a
system, to
comenzar a ver
introduce
dónde están esas
information,
brechas, ¿no?
to start
are seeing where these gaps are. So thank you very much, Carolina. I don't know if there's any other question, Ángeles, through the chat maybe.
Pareciera que no, hay muchas dudas
No,
sobre...
apparently no. There are many questions
O sea, yo
about
creo que quieren saber más del sistema.
I think that they want to know more about the system, but as we do not have much more time, I invite you to use the link that we shared before, and you're going to be able to get all of the information in more detail. In the page, you are going to see the email of InFARM as well. And if you want to write to me directly, you can also do so. I am going to leave you in the chat in case you do not have it. And if you think about any other question, we have a couple more minutes. But while you think, I would like to share with you the last question that we want to ask, the previous last. So I am going to share with you something here.
Okay. Entonces, esta pregunta ya está asociada al
This question is associated to the InFARM system. And we want to know what, after you heard all of these presentations, so what are your country's main needs to participate in the InFARM system? There are many options here: technical training, greater coordination amongst the different institutions. We saw that this was very important. We saw it in Chile and in Bolivia. Allocation of resources. We know that you're all very busy with many activities, and we need to focus on one of them many times. So more standardized and operational and national surveillance systems, technical support, guidelines that are more clear. So please check two options. And I want to thank you all for your participation. Many people participated today, so we're very happy that we're able to tell you what InFARM is, how you can participate, what are the benefits of participating, and that is great. Maybe, Angeles, one of the things that are related to the coordination of the different authorities, one of the things that we could say is that when the countries go to the private interface, the digital platform offers a private interface for all of the focal points at a national level. So the focal points that have been mentioned in the food chain because of healthy or sick terrestrial animals or aquatic or foods, all of those focal points are accessing to the same interface. As part of the platform, we're also going to add one tab that we are developing with our digital developers. This is a tab where you can have access to all of the focal points and also to the authorities. So a focal point in healthy terrestrial animals, if they go to the platform, they can visualize all of the information that is related to the foods in terms of sick animals, if the authority has shared information there. So this is like a catalyzer of coordination at a national level. And this could be very interesting when we coordinate and when we start doing analysis together. Yeah, that's a very good point. And of course, we need reduced focal points that can organize information. And we need for the application to be open so that everyone can participate. That's much more enriching. So we invite that the countries can have this internal coordination and that you can identify the focal points that are going to be interacting without leaving behind what Chile and Bolivia were saying, that everybody should know and everybody should be participating in this gathering of information. So we got to about a 60% of participation. We are on time already. So amongst the biggest needs that need to be included in InFARM are the technical training for national focal points. We first invite you to check all of the information that we have in the webpage. Also, you say that we need greater coordination amongst national institutions and the allocation of dedicated human resources and time to feed the platform. Also, more standardized and operational national surveillance systems, technical support in data analysis and interpretation. And we have several topics there where we need to work on. This is something that is for us, Alejandro. We need to support the countries in this process. And only to close, I would like to leave you with the last question. After this session, on a scale from 1 to 5, how confident are you that your country will participate in the 2025 data call? 1 means no confidence and 5 means high confidence.
Alentar a todos los países de que sean
Yeah, and I also want to encourage the countries to be honest in the answer. There's no kind of commitment in here. There are no names. It's anonymous. We are in a medium term, which is understandable because there's a lot of information that you need to digest in just 2 hours, but we are sure that this number is going to go up. The goal is that we add more countries than last year, so we are going to leave you all very invited to check the information. I'm going to put my email in the chat before closing this session. Yeah, and I wanted to say that the first step to participate is that the national authorities identify the focal points, and these focal points enroll, and they are going to have access to InFARM. And the only requirement is to have first access to the platform as a focal point and to complete the surveillance questionnaire. There's a questionnaire that is descriptive and that only talks about the surveillance area for which that focal point has been nominated. So, for example, terrestrial animals that are only going to respond to that. That survey. That's the first requirement. And also, if the countries want to send RAM information, they can do it. But initially, we encourage you to participate with the descriptive aspect and also have the focal points that you can work with. So thank you very much, Angeles. Thank you, and thank you, everyone. So we're going to leave with this message. Any question you have, you can write to us. We are here to support you. And welcome. Welcome to InFARM. I know that many of you are going to come work with us in this initiative. So thank you very much. Carolinas, thank you, Diego. Thank you, all of the countries that were here today with us. More than 120 people came to this conference, and also our team in Rome, Alejandro, Agnes. Thank you for being here with us, and also here the regional office and our translators that help us to make all of this possible. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a great day.